my phone a little bit, so I'll do my best to keep it stationary so it doesn't make noises. But I did notice last week when we had the channeling and they had me put it in this podcast format that I had to keep looking down. It was starting to hurt my eyes. So I will do my best. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to what is this, episode 15? This is episode 15 of Sacred Sunday. And not only that, but it is the 17th of August, which a lot of you who are part of this tribe know that the number 17 has become really powerful and really important for all of us. And what's so cool about that is that when you add it together, it's the number 8, and 8, if you put it sideways, is infinity. So I'm here to talk with you, to channel, to work with spirit, and I'm going to give it some time for people. I just put it out there. In the past, so far with Sacred Sunday, they've been having me post a little shorts, to let people know that I'm going live, or to let people know, what we're working on or whatever. But today was very bare bones. Like they were just like, nope, just get on there, just channel. I'm like, you don't want me to pull any decks, anything? They're like, just go. So I may pull decks or I may pull things. I guess we'll see what happens. When I looked down, it was 131, but all I saw was 31, which is also the number 13 backwards. So how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing now that we've come out of the Lionsgate portal, Mercury retrograde? We're still in the shadow of Mercury retrograde and going into the shadow of eclipse season, and it's getting really intense. But that's what's so cool. I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but something has changed. I feel like Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo version, like that look on her face. A lot of you know my other channel, Lula's Labyrinth. I've done quite a few videos of it. I might put one out today. I did like 5 or different, because sometimes when I'm creating, especially when I'm doing creative videos, I'll create like maybe 10 versions of it when I'm in the moment, because each one I'm going to get something else. And I learned that from acting and being in the artist world, that the more you work on something, the more it changes and evolves and grows. It's not even that it gets better. Sometimes it's just different, and the different is what is so exciting. So I love that part where Elphaba says, something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. Hello, welcome. And that's exactly what's happening. It's too late for us to go back to sleep. They can make fun of us for being woke and all that stuff. Hello, I said hello. Hello, hello, hello. But there is some major, massive shifts changing on the planet right now, and it's undeniable. There's no way you can't see what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. For those of you, nope, I'm sorry. I'm staying in, we're in the shadow energy of the moon, and spirit prefers me to stay in the podcast form. I don't know what a face review is, but if you're asking me to show my face, they're saying no. Today I am taking channeled messages from the other side. And remember that this is a sacred space. I've already called in all of our spirit guides and our higher selves and all those who are meant to be here today. If you are meant to be here, you are meant to be here. Oh, well, that's okay. You know what the best part about the cringe for you, my friend, is? You can leave. You can leave. Nobody needs to, you don't have to be here. That's the beauty of me going live, is that I don't have to worry about you or deal with you or think about you, because your higher self brought you here for a reason. So you can say cringe or you can say why, but that's because the part of you that is a seer, that's a light worker, that's a beautiful soul, sees me. And if you look on my channel, you can leave this live, go look on my channel. I'm the real deal. I'm the real deal, baby. So I have nothing but love for you. I got nothing but love for you, because if you, let's put it this way, if you want to write something like cringe, so just so you guys know, right, I'm going live, so I can only see what people are writing. I don't know what this says. Something banned him because I said his cringe. I don't know. But either way, a few people came on and they're saying hello, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then somebody came on and this is their handle. So this will give you this will give you some insight, Star Family. This will give you some insight. So their handle is Steal a Brain Rot Kid. And they write cringe. Cringe it's so easy for someone to sit behind a screen. You want to know why I don't show my face? Because it's so easy to sit behind a computer and write nasty things to people that you don't even know. You know, and that's your shadow coming through. So I just think that's interesting and fascinating. If you'd like to actually talk with someone, if you would actually like to be here, you know what? If I meant to block them, then I will. Somebody just said just ban them. Like, yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. I don't have an attachment to that. Now, if they were upsetting the other tribe members, if they were, you know what I mean, then I would, I would do something about it. But right now, it's like, this is a space of love. This is a place of healing. This is not of, just because they wrote that, it's like, I have no idea. Like, let's put it this way. Could I go into their energy and find out what kind of person they are? Yep. You know what I mean? Could I, whatever? I'm a fucking medium. Yes, I can. I'm an earth angel. I'm a child of the creator. So I can go in but you know what? It's so obvious. All I have to see is that and see that word, and that's enough. And my heart goes out to them because it takes a lot of energy. And you know that old saying, it takes one to know one. It takes a lot of energy to be that angry and that hateful. And that comes from a place of pain and suffering, and that comes from a place of hurt. So if anything, we love you, Steel Rock Kid, or whatever that was. We love you, cringe. You can say cringe all you want. I'm a 53-year-old woman. It's not going to bother me. I'm not a teenager. You know what I mean? And even so, I mean, that's silly for me to say, right? Because age is just a number. But I get the energy that they're very young. And that's okay. Let them learn. In fact, you know what's so interesting is when I was meditating before I started this episode today, this platform, I literally felt all this negative energy coming my way. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, what's that about? And I was like, do you want me to do things differently? Do you want me to? And Spirit was like, no. So I knew this was coming. I felt it in my meditation, but I think it still shocks me because there's just a part of me that's like, I don't fucking get it. I never could get it, I was born in 1971. I've seen a lot of things. I've traveled extensively on the planet and met a lot of people from all over the world. And I love you. I don't care who you are, where you come from. I love you because I'm a child of the divine. I'm a heart-centered, heart chakra, barren love energy. And I'm just going to love all over you. I feel like Molly Shannon right now. I love it. I love it. I love it. Right. So I'm just going to just come from love, and let's all send them love. Let's all send them love. And may they find their center, because think about it this way. There are billions and billions of people on the planet, and there are so many people on YouTube. So the fact that that person was drawn to come to my channel today is so awesome. So I thank them, because even their shadow gave us they planted the seed for us to have this conversation. Okay, so we have, is that Deacon? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Like he doesn't know what you look like, or he listens 1 second and he says cringe. Exactly. Right? Like, right. You hear like a teenager. No, you know what? I hear like a human. I hear like an angel. I hear like a light being having a human experience. I hear like, you know what I mean? It's like, because I was a teenager, because I was young. That could, you know what the sad thing about that is, they could be older than me and still have that as their handle and write the word cringe. Because here's the thing, just because we grow up does not mean that we mature, right? Just because we age doesn't mean that we, mature into like an elder. And let me tell you something. I have one of my last, I guess, I was their mentor teacher, and they were mine as well, but they were walking with me to come back to the light. And we had so many conversations, and this person's in their 80s. And we had, hi, Anna. Anna's one of our all-stars. Welcome, Anna. Woohoo. Nice. When I say all-star, that means she's been with us a long time. Anna's old medicine like me, so don't come for her. Anna, we had somebody in here who started some shit like, calling me cringe and all this. Um, but anyway, I worked with this person in their 80s, and it was really difficult sometimes because even though I was looking at an 80 plus year old man, they were, yeah, they did, dude. It was just kind of funny. But all I saw was the teenager. All I saw was the horny teenager who has not healed that inner child trauma, who has not evolved into the 80-year-old person that they are. So, age really truly is just a number. I mean, not to throw flowers at myself, but I've been creating a lot of things. I'm an artist and I've been working with some old stuff, some new stuff, and putting things side by side. And one of the things that I realized today is I'm like, I look fucking good. I'm like, I'm 53 going on 54 in December. And I'm like, damn, I could only wish I was this cool and looked this good at this age. When I was younger in the 70s, people in their 50s don't look at me or didn't look like me. And I saw this really interesting, this is going to blow your wigs off, you guys. Anna just said, lucky I wasn't here. That's right, because Anna would have fucking kicked their fucking ass. She's a Sag like me. She's fire, baby. She's the most loving, kind, gentle soul you will ever, and I mean ever meet, or like high up there. And but at the same time, Anna will cut a bitch if she has to, right? Like we come from that. We're cut from that cloth. We're here to, we're all here for a reason. But I was watching this thing recently, and they were talking about aging because a lot of people are really angry that the sitting American president wants to change the age of retirement. I think it should be voluntary. Like the minimum age is like 62 or 65, but like, you don't have to, kind of thing. I think because some people, depending on the job, 65 is, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to sit behind a desk, if you were in a physical job, but by the time you get 65, you're still physical, but like you can't do the things you used to do, but you don't want to do this or that. It's like, I just think it should be a choice. I think retirement should be a choice. And maybe there's like a cutoff where it's like, it begins at this age where you can get, money. This is the American government. Our government's so fucked. We're getting back to it though. We're rising up, but I saw this, it was this really cool, interesting, story. And they were saying, yeah, well, let's look at some comparisons. And so they started bringing up pictures of different like time frames and like what we look like now. And they brought up a picture of, I can't think of his name right now, but he's the actor who played Archie Bunker in All of the Family. And they brought up a side picture of Paul Rudd. And they're like, this was him at 46, right? Archie Bunker was 46. He was supposed to be, the actor was 46 and he was supposed to be in his 40s, right? On the show. And then they brought up a picture of Paul Rudd at 56. And they're like, at 56, Paul Rudd looks better and is in better shape than, this actor was in the 60s and the 70s. You know what I'm saying? So that to me was like, it kind of blew my wig off. I'm not going to lie. I started to see it differently. And I was like, I see what they're saying. That's what I've said before. Like, am I angry at the sitting president for certain things? Fuck yeah. Like, I don't agree with him. I feel like I'm about to run for president, dude, like move over. But on the other side of that, is like, there's some things that they're doing and saying, which I do kind of understand. Like, I do think that, because sometimes when people get stuck in retirement, they die faster. They don't take as good care of themselves. They feel lonelier, right? Especially if you're somebody who worked in an office. I've worked in many offices, and I think one of the biggest ones I ever worked in, there was like 65 of us in just one branch, and it was a huge company. Oh, thank you, Anna. Anna said, Lula's great, so genuine and real. Oh, thank you, sister. Woo woo. And I'm so glad you guys said hello to each other. Sending the love, send the love. See, we're sending the love out to each other. When I look down, it's 1432, so let's work with that as an angel number. It's also the number 10. 10's about completion and new beginnings. Very powerful. So I do believe that there are a lot of things that need to change. I do believe our government needed to have a shakeup, but it's so obvious that our leader is very, very racist. It's very obvious. I mean, to me, what really got me was the Juneteenth because it's a holiday that we've been trying to bring into the American public and the awareness of it in the world for a long time, because it was the day of the emancipation of slavery in the United States. So, I mean, you know, it's so powerful that the fact that he barely spoke about it and didn't make a big deal out of it, but he had a big fucking parade for his birthday for himself and the military, was kind of like, okay, well, so these people were literally kidnapped from their country, from their homeland, dragged here against their will, beaten, raped, tortured. They built this fucking country. They're not the only ones, right? We could talk about the Chinese immigrants too. We can talk about all the immigrants. We're all fucking immigrants. I have Native American blood flowing through my veins, just like so many of us do, because they raped and pillaged. And we're not the only country. This has been going on for millennia. This has been going on since the dawn of time. This is human beings. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. So we're having a lot of energy and things that have been coming through. And, you know, so you guys are going to be hearing a lot more from me. We're going to be doing straight up channelings for a while on Sunday, and we are going to show it in this form. And like I said earlier, you want to know what I look like? Go look on my channel. I've got pictures, I've got videos. Go to my other channel. It's connected to this. There's a link to it, Lula's Labyrinth. You know, I mean, I'm like, even Bubba the Great, which they haven't had me put the links back on the other ones yet, but I kind of feel like Bubba's the opposite. I feel like Bubba and I have our own little channel, and then there's links to Lula's Labyrinth and the Magical Medium on there. And I feel like Bubba's more like the breadcrumbs leading people back to me. Hi, Jessica. Woohoo. Jessica's another all-star. And I don't know, what name do you want us to call you? Is it Deacon? So I just want to make sure, yay. So Jessica and Anna, they've been with us a long time. Jessica told me last night she may pop her head in today. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to be doing more channeling, because this is what people need right now. This is, you know, we've been saying before, you know, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Okay, is it not, I can't, is it Noslin? Noslin? Is that what you want us to call you? I know it's difficult when we have barriers. Are you from India? You please let us know where you're from. And a lot of times I ask people when they have names that I don't know how to pronounce, where are you from? Please tell us where you're from. Like, can I call you Naz? I just heard Naz. I don't know why, but I just heard Naz. You're from Iraq. Oh my gosh. Blessed soul. Thank you for being here. Okay, so I think there's a reason why you're here today. Can I call you Naz? Is that okay? If it doesn't feel comfortable, then give me something short I can say. Because I got a download from Spirit last night, because, you know, a lot of us, we've been praying for these wars, and especially over in the Middle East. It's like, there's so much that's happening in that part of the world, but a lot of, like, you know, the Jesus, the Christ consciousness, like all of that, like that all came from that part of the world. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. I like Nas. I don't know why, but I just feel you as Nas. So interesting. And thank you for bringing your energy to us. You're obviously a light worker. You're obviously a seer. And you just reminded me that there's this really awesome movie that I just watched that's set in Morocco. And it just gave me, I've just been getting all these downloads from like the old world, and like, you know, because, you know, we all know that ancient civilization, from everything that we can understand, the ancient civilization of man came from the Middle East. What's NP? If you're younger, you have to remember, like, I need more. I'm like, I don't, like, my nieces and nephews would text me and I'm like, I have no fucking idea what that means. I don't know. I'm like, I can kind of make it out. I'm like, I don't know, but you said NP. So, but I don't know if that means something. But yeah, I've just been getting a lot of this like old medicine. I've just been just feeling these old energies of slaughter and genocide. And, you know, I mean, it's like this has been going on forever. But Bernie Sanders, you know, went to the Capitol some time ago. I think it was last week or a few weeks ago. And, oh, NP is no problem. Okay. Okay. Okay, but thank you for educating me, Naz. Now I know that means no problem. Also, it made me think of NASDAQ or the NASDAQ or something. Are you somehow affiliated with that for a job or something? That's interesting, or something to do with money or business. We had somebody that came in last week that worked, or was it the week before, that worked with cryptocurrency com. Um, anyway, that just came through, so I don't know what that means. But I literally, when I said Nas and I was laughing, I saw a NASDAQ, the NASDAQ, NAZ, like the NASDAQ report in the US. So maybe that's something for us to, something's going to come down the pipeline and we're going to be like, remember that episode when that came in? We're going to be like, what the fuck was that? You know? So let's retrace our thoughts, Spirit. What were we talking about? Sometimes things, and when it goes out of my mind, that means it's something that they want us to talk about. But basically, long story short, is that I've been getting all these downloads. Oh, it was about Bernie. Thank you, Spirit. That at that point, there was 18,500 children had been killed, and most of them were under the age of 12. And they're saying, what's the fucking difference when this was happening, right? When this was happening to the Jewish people, you know, the Americans like got in there and, you know, whatever. And so there's just a lot of uproar on the planet right now where it's like, you know, do we get involved? Do we not get involved? And it's like, of course children are important, you know, but at the same time, it's like, it's just human beings in general. Like people are, and I remember when I was a child looking at, like, I had this coloring book of children around the world that someone had gifted me because I love to color, and someone gifted that to me. And I remember that when it came to Iran, that I like scribbled through it with like a black crayon. And it's like, what the fuck is that shit? You know, because that's what was going on. It's like, but as a child, my very right-wing Republican Christian parents were like, we hate them. You know what I mean? You need to hate them. You know, cut to years later, I marry a man whose father is from India and his mother is from Austria, but he was born in England. And it was very hard to tell where he was from. A lot of people, I mean, I cannot tell you how many times people would say, where are you from? When I first met him, I opened the door and I was like, oh my gosh. And he had this long, gorgeous, wavy hair, these gorgeous almond eyes, this beautiful, luscious tan skin. And then he spoke with the most regal British accent. And I was like, I was like, hi. And he's like, hello. And I was like, and I remember I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, unfortunately, the telly at our, you know, and he was my neighbor. And I was like, what just happened? And I looked at him and I go, what just happened? I'm like, where are you? Who are you? I'm like, where are you from? You know? And so I remember when 9/11 happened and he and I would be in the car or we'd be at the grocery store or somewhere and people like spit at us, accosted us. We were at a light once and a car pulled up next to us and the guy rolled down his window and we thought he was asking for directions. We were living in LA at the time. We thought maybe they're just tourists or something. And he said, hey, camel jockey, why don't you go back to your something, you fucking whatever. And I was like, what did he just say to you? What just happened? And I just remember like seeing things as a white, blonde hair, blue-eyed, all-American, you know, the girl next door looking girl, right? Quote unquote. All I saw was like, what the fuck just happened? Now, mind you, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so I saw racism. My friends were black. I dated, you know, black guys. We were, you know, things that happened. But this was like, what the fuck? Like, we're adults. Like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, it literally like blew my fucking mind. And what really made me stand up for people was when my very, very dear friend, my childhood friend, her parents were like my parents. I actually lived with them for a time. She sent me this joke after 9/11 and it was like really awful. And I said something about towel heads or whatever. And I said, dude, you do realize that my husband is from India. My father-in-law is from India. And she's like, well, I mean, what does that have to do with, you know, it's like there was no correlation for her of like, you know what I mean? It just blew my mind. And when I told my father that I was meeting when I met him and it was getting serious and we were going to get married and things like that, I remember calling my father and I was on the phone with him and I said, he said, what does he look like? Or what, you know, this is before like, you know, cell phones and like all that stuff. And we were just getting cell phones, but it wasn't like it is now where you just like send somebody a picture. And I said, well, I said, he's really beautiful. I said, it's hard to explain. I'm like, he's British. And he's like, oh, he's British. And I said, no, I'm like, well, he is. I said, he was born in England. He was born in London. But I said, his mom is from Austria and our family's German, right? So my dad's like, oh, that's awesome. And I go, and his father's from India. And he was like, or no. Or I said, he's Indian or something. He's Indian and he goes, dot or feather. And I said, Dad, I'm like, that is so fucking horrible. I'm like, I can't believe, I'm like, why would you say something like that? Say that something like that to me. And, and you know what I mean? But that's when I started to realize just like how people, it was just natural to say things like that. And it's like, it's not natural. It's not okay. It's not okay. By the way, I just noticed you guys put a lot of things were going here. Okay. So Naz said, so you know that Nazar is, if you don't know, he is my favorite YouTuber. Oh, okay. Interesting. So maybe that could be it too. Maybe there's something with that. That's interesting. It's not coming through right now, but that's interesting. And yeah, isn't that awful, you guys? So I'm not from Germany, but so here's my thing. So my dad's side of the family is Polish and German. My mom's side of the family is German, all the British Isles, some French, and Cherokee, Native American. So I'm a mutt. I'm a mutt. I'm such a mutt. But I love that, I mean, that's what makes me who I am. In fact, it's interesting because I've been saying for years, like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to get on Finding Your Roots somehow because I feel like I want my family's origins to be traced so badly because my grandmother is absolutely convinced that we come from French royalty. And I've basically, since I've gone through all my past lives and, all my journeying, my teachings, just like everything that I've gone through, I've seen myself as a witch. I've seen myself burning at the stake. I've seen, you know what I mean? Like I've seen my family hung from trees. Like I've seen like a lot of interesting things. I've seen myself as, African. I don't even want to say African American. But oh, you said, oh, because you know how to speak German. Oh, that's good. Well, I don't. I mean, when I was a kid, apparently, I love that kid. There was a big meme that was going on forever from this kid he was so cute. He was this little boy and he kept saying, apparently, or something like that. Yeah, Anna just says you feel it in your bones. Yeah, I just like feel things in my bones. But when I was a child, I had grandparents, Oma and Opa, that spoke German, and I had grandparents, Oma and Opa, that spoke Polish. So it's very interesting. Sometimes when I am like around people who are speaking German or Polish and they're speaking it like not super fast, like if they're talking kind of slow, I can kind of make out what they're saying, especially because German is very similar to English in a lot of ways. And a lot of things too with languaging, because I took Spanish and French. And so, ja, sehr gut. So I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Thank you. Look at Naz is teaching us German, you guys. So it's spelled J-A, first word, second word, S-E-H-R, third word, G-U-T. We are learning German today. But speaking of my first husband, what I loved so much about him was because I grew up in the south side of Chicago with such a very restrictive and like beer, football, and like, church and be perfect and, kill anybody or dislike anybody who's not like you. You know what I mean? I came from such a repressed place that it was very refreshing to meet this person whose family had traveled all over the world and he lived in all these different countries and he spoke multiple languages and he spoke 4 fluently: German, English. Did he speak French? I don't remember. So he spoke German, English, Spanish, French. I think he did speak French, and Farsi. But he only spoke a little bit of Farsi, not that much. Just like, same thing, like with me and my family, like, in fact, he only went to India once his entire life, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, when you study languages, you start to understand the similarities. In fact, when I was learning Spanish and French, one of the things that really helped me was to have like a symbol in my mind's eye, or a word. And I remember one time I was, they said, Nas says that means yes, so good. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. We like that. Thank you. Anna says, love meeting different people and cultures. This world is full of beautiful people. It is. I know. I found that too. And also, can I just interject a little thing? When I used to drink, it was crazy whenever I got drunk, I could speak Spanish almost fluently. I can speak French pretty well, better than, you know what I mean? Like, I understand French more than, because I only took a small course, like a few months. I think it was a 3-month course because I was going to France. I was going to Europe by myself. I was going to stay with a friend in Belgium, and we were going to travel all over together. But then I was going to France by myself because she wasn't a huge fan. So I was like, I don't want to be there. And this is before you can just use a translator on your phone and things like that. I wanted to, just say merci, de rien, just like little things, just please, s'il vous plaît, just like, things like, where's the bathroom? Which of course now that eludes me. But, and I'll tell you what, it's because the only reason why the French, have such a disdain for Americans, it's because Americans are pompous. A lot of not all of them. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm American, right? But there are a lot of Americans, like our sitting American president, who have this entitlement and this bullshit. So they go into these other cultures and these other countries, and they're like, what do you mean you don't have a McDonald's? Or what do you mean? And it's like, yeah, because this is their world. This is their culture. This is what they eat. This is what they grow. This is where you are. You are not in the United States. You are in France. So you do, right? That's that old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? So when you're there, you are, right? Like if I went to Iraq to visit Nas, right? Like, would I, say, oh, let me impose my culture onto you? I'd be like, no. I'd be like, dude, bring me to like where you go. Like, bring me to your favorite places to eat. I'm a vegan. Where can I eat? Is there anywhere around here? You know what I mean? Like, take me to this place. Take me to that place. I want to go to the desert, but like, what's a safe way to go? And you know what I mean? Like, I would always ask the locals. Whenever I go, I did one tour when I was in France. When I was in Paris, I was only there for 4 days. It was the end of my trip. I was in Europe for 2 weeks, and it was my last 4 days. And because I wanted to do so much, one of my friends talked me into doing a tour because he's like, listen to me. He's like, he actually literally like brought me like all these like different brochures that he found at a tourist place. And he's like, look at all the different places. He's like, think about it, like go online, like look and see like what you want to see, where you want to go, so that you don't waste a minute. And, I was so grateful for that advice because I took one tour, and the only tour I took was on a bus. And the coolest part about it is it took me to all the things I like. If I was like, okay, I want to go to this neighborhood, I want to go to that neighborhood. And I'm like, this is perfect because then I could tour through the neighborhoods with the bus and see where I want to go back. And he's like, do the tour the first day. So fucking smart. I did. Went to the Eiffel Tower, did it, you know what I mean? I went, all the places that I wanted to go, I did in the first day. And then I gave myself room to go to the other places. And I knew I had one day to do like, I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do my first day. I'm like, the second day, I want to walk around. I want to try different food. I want to, you know what I mean? I'm like, I want to drink wine. I want to smoke cigarettes and drink wine. I mean, I remember one of my favorite things when I was in Paris was I wanted to go to Café du Magot. And I remember sitting there was all these old men, and they were catcalling these beautiful French women, which to this day, I don't know how they walk in those high heels on those cobblestone streets. That's a gift. I never saw one flinch, foible, no ankle busters. It was like watching. I was like, where did these women come from? Like, I mean, seriously, it was like watching like fluid grace and motion. But anyway, I digress. So I ended up spending an afternoon with all of these old Frenchmen they all spoke English, but they were like helping me with my French. And they were like, I was like, what do I say, to this girl, or what do I say to this man or this woman or whatever? And and I drank Sincere, which I've never had before in my life. Oh, Anna, we should go together. Honestly, we should go together. Anna just said it's always been my dream to visit, or always been drawn to visit Paris. I just heard dream, but there we go. Yeah, Paris is, you can't explain it. I mean, honestly, like I've been to so many countries at this point, and I've been to 35 of our 50, plus states of the United States, and there's just, or territories, whatever. There's just something magical about it. It just feels like love. It just feels like love. Oh, Naz was saying that they're drawn to it too. It's just love. It just, you feel like you just want to fall in love when you're there. Like, honestly, like I had some of the most magical moments of my lifetime in those 4 days in Paris. And I was so grateful my friend didn't come, because as much as I love her, we didn't like the same things. We didn't do the same things. Like, I was a huge drinker at the time. I was a big, big wino. I loved wine. So for me, I was like, being in France and being able to drink wine was just such a gift. I mean, I can't even tell you. But I was turned on to Sancerre, which is this delicious white wine. It's a French wine. It's so good. And we just sat there for hours, and we ate cheese and bread, and it was all local and like homemade wine. And it was just phenomenal. It was just phenomenal. But the one thing that I loved about that was I was like, okay, I have one full day again to do something. Actually, I think that I might have done the catcalling was the first day, now that I think about it. It was the first day I arrived, but I don't call it a full day because I got there kind of late and I couldn't check into, or it was like kind of midday, and they let me keep my bags there, but they wouldn't let me check into my room yet because it wasn't available. And I was right on the Seine, and out my window was the Seine, the Tuileries, and well, it's Louis the 14th Castle, but the museum. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of it right now? It'll come to my brain. Anna says the art and food. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, just being there, the art. I mean, being in the art museum itself, the Louvre. Thank you, Spirit. Being in the Louvre. Even if you took all of the art out of the Louvre, it's like, holy fuck, because it's Louis the 14th's castle. So the ceilings were all hand painted by like the best artists in the world, And then I'm seeing, and now mind you, cut to like I don't know how many years before that, maybe 5 or 6 years before I went to Europe, I had actually worked in an art gallery. So I worked with actual art, but then we had a department for like posters of the art for people who couldn't afford the art or the individual piece, right? So what blew my fucking wig off was when I came around the corner and I saw the lady in the water, which was this like, because we had displays up. The gallery was at the bottom. And then on the top, we were in an old Chicago loft. It's when I lived in Chicago. And it was in some really, really cold. It was called Billy Hort Galleries. It was there for like 30 plus years. It's a sad, tragic ending of the owner, but it was just a really cool place. And so the front was an art gallery. And then the whole bottom floor, the front was the art gallery and the back was a framing. So we had inside framing. So they would like frame the paintings or frame your poster. And then upstairs was like where all the posters were and the offices. And it was so cool. I loved that job. It was actually one of my favorite jobs I've ever had in my life. And I worked in the office part with my boss was the owner's wife, and she did all the corporate stuff. So like when they remodeled the children's hospital in Chicago, we were so blessed to be a part of that. So if you go to the Chicago Children's Hospital in Chicago, Illinois, all the artwork that you see in there and all of everything from the statues to the paintings to the posters, we literally, we were the ones that had a huge hand in that. And how they got hung, where they got hung, the framing, everything. I mean, so sometimes we would do like 200 pieces, and it was honestly, it was such a cool job because it was very intricate and it was really awesome. But I digress. But one of the the lady in the water has been around forever. I mean, I don't even know when she was painted, but we had like displays of like posters that you could get so that people can see it. And obviously we had catalogs and stuff they can go through, but we had stuff that was actually framed, and we had things that were like, in bins and things that they can go through. in like, plastic sleeves. And then we would, take it out for them and we'd go and frame it. But these weren't just your everyday posters. These were like really high end, So I come around the corner and I don't know. The only thing I knew for sure that was in the Louvre was the Mona Lisa. I was like, I've got to see the fucking Mona Lisa before I die. Yes, Anna just said, Naz said cool, and Anna said art that gives you goosebumps. Yes. And the energy in there, the ghosts in there. I mean, when I took pictures, when I got my pictures back, there would be like 30 orbs in the ceiling. And I was like, and they were all different colors, different sizes. And I didn't really understand what I was at the time, I mean, so many, I don't even know if I have those. Actually, I think they may be at my mom's, which is kind of heartbreaking, but whatever, it's meant to be. Right. And so on my way to see the Mona Lisa, I am going, and it's so big and it's so vast. There's so much to see. That's why a lot of people, they say, if you're a true art connoisseur, you want to give yourself 2 or 3 days at the Louvre, because there were moments where I could just sit in front, of course there are benches everywhere, and I could literally just like sit somewhere and just look at paintings. I could sit there for hours because they're the originals, and it just takes your breath away. You literally cannot explain it. So I come around the corner and I see the lady in the water, and I literally went, oh, because number one, she was bigger than I thought she'd be. And I was like, oh my God. And I just remember like going up to it and looking at it and just the depth of it. And you know what I mean? And while I'm standing there looking at it, I hear this family come around the corner, and they're clearly American. I mean, I can hear it from their accent and, just everything. Anna says, Naz says, yes, I know. And Anna says, yes, I feel you, Lula. So true. But what was really upsetting to me is, as I'm having this moment with the lady in the water, I hear from a teenage girl, I'm so bored. I'm so bored. I'm so bored. She's like, can we go? I'm so bored. And I'm like, I just looked at her and I looked at the family, and then they just start saying all this shit that I just grew up around a lot of wealthy people. And I was from upper middle class. And then kind of went down to middle class, but to see and hear these people, I'm hoping, right? I'm waiting for her to say something like, we've been here for 3 days, or okay, or whatever. And then I hear like the mom is like, we just got here. How can you be bored? And I thought to myself, exactly. And now I'm sorry, but even when I was a teenager and I smoked a lot of weed and drank, and I didn't want to do things with my parents and whatever, even I would have been like, holy shit. I mean, just the fucking building itself inside is like nothing I ever knew or grew up with, right? I mean, Chicago is part of, the United States. United States is one of the youngest countries in the world. So, it's like, we didn't have that, yeah, we had brownstones and vintage and whatever from a few hundred years ago, 3, 4, these were like, we're talking like the 14th century, like, and I think that's when he was Louis the 14th. So I don't know if that means he was the 14th in line, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, the rose line. I mean, it's real. I followed the rose line. You know what I mean? Like all this shit. It's like there's so many things happening, which, by the way, I definitely feel like there is some connection to Jesus and France. And I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. I mean, there was just so much magic happening. So that's what really changed me. And that's when I started to realize. And then the whole time I was in France, I came across a lot of really ignorant Americans that pissed me off. Oh, thank you. Naz is like, I'm a new subscriber. Thank you. Well, we love you so much. And thank you, you guys, for liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. Thank you. All of that. It makes a huge difference with the algorithms. It puts us out there. And if you guys haven't noticed, I looked down today and I'm like, we're at 1,091. And some of our early people, do you remember when we had 67 subscribers years ago? It's taken me a long time to get to this. And, I haven't paid for anything. I've done everything from grassroots. I could have a million times, I could have done things so many different times. Anna, I think we should plan a trip. I'm serious. Can't wait to go to Paris. We need to manifest someone in our tribe that lives in Paris that we can go and stay with them. Because for you, it would just be, it's not that far, Yes, Anna says you're an all-star. Yeah, Jessica, woohoo! Yeah, it's like, I mean, there's just so much awesomeness that's happening, but it'd be really cool if we can get that. Like, you guys, I went to Hurricane Ridge. Okay, so I'll get off that for a second. Maybe we'll come back to it, okay, so they want me to say this. I will say this. The Mona Lisa, I bawled my eyes out. I bawled my fucking eyes out. Jessica says, I have to get ready to go. I love you guys. We love you too, Jessica. Thanks for stopping by. I know you have plans today, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm excited. She sent me a little message last night. She's like, I have a little box I'm sending to you. So yay, I can't wait for the unboxing. Unless you don't want me to, Jessica, that's okay. That if it's just for me, it's just for me, but that's okay. Either way, thanks you guys. And if you guys haven't noticed, I amped up my Amazon wish list. And so I've got Venmo right now and my Amazon wish list. And my Amazon wish list, you can actually send me things that aren't on there. But I've always said, in fact, I should probably put a little disclaimer on my wish list, like only send me, whatever. I mean, if you look at what I have on there, it's all organic and natural fibers and things like that. But it's like read the room kind of thing. Anyway, Jessica, I'm keeping mine on while I'm getting ready. Oh, okay, so she's just saying goodbye into the fact of that, like when she's done, she'll leave. Okay, yay! You guys are all sending each other love. I love it, I love it, I love it. I can tell my family to subscribe to you. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yeah, because, we're all light workers having a human experience. And those of you who have found this channel and found this tribe, it's because you believe in this vibe. Like you believe in everything that we're doing and what we're putting forward. We're trying our best to keep the light and the love and a high vibration to bring that energy to us. If I was meant to have a 500,000 subscribers by now, I would. If I was meant to blah blah, I would. All these things. So listen to this. So the other day I went to Hurricane Ridge, and Alder and I have been trying to go there forever. His family's from here, and I think he said he went up there once with his dad or something. But long story short, it was pure magic. Pure magic. I had so many incredible things happen to me while I was up there. It was the last day of the Lionsgate portal. I actually have footage, which I will put out when they have me put out, where somebody could be like, oh, dude, it's just the camera angle. It's just the sun. It's just light infractions, blah, blah, blah. However, there is a moment where I am not kidding you, you guys. It literally, I was like, I was watching the Lionsgate portal shrink. It was in the sun, like spirit was showing me. It was so powerful. It was so magical. And it's for people to make wishes on. And I have been really sending out energy on all of my channels for like wishes and faith and hope and all that. Although somebody said once, and I kind of agree, it was kind of interesting. They said hope is the absence of faith, because you're hoping it'll happen, but you're not having faith that it will. But here's the thing. Sometimes we hope for something to happen, but if it's not in our greatest and highest good, we have to have faith and knowing that it wasn't meant for us. And sometimes the lines get blurred, from our past lives, our future lives, our current lives in different dimensions. We're such multifaceted beings. We're just having this experience right now. Last night, I don't know where the fuck I was. Like lately, when I'm in whether I'm in dream lodge or sleep time or whatever, it's like I'm always working. I'm working. I've been having, I thought I was done with menopause, but I've been having these like really weird hot flashes again out of nowhere. I don't know where it's coming from. It's been really magical, actually. I'm not mad about it, but then like I'll be like in a pool of sweat, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get up, I gotta change my bedding, I gotta change everything. I'm like, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm dry as a bone. My bedding is dry, and I'm like, what the fuck? And not to be like, TMI, but like I can even smell from my pits. Like I just took you guys know I live in a tiny home. And so, I do like my own form of like a spit bath, and like I washed my hair, and I just felt so good. I put on fresh bedding last night, and, my nice lotions and my oils, and I felt all good. I felt like a brand new girl. You know what I mean? And interestingly enough, this morning when I woke up, I was like, I know I put deodorant on, and I was like kind of stinky, but like everything, it was just fucking weird. I'm like, but I didn't smell. I was like, what is happening? But I kind of could smell my pits. It was weird. I was like, I don't know where it was or what happened. I'm like, should I go put my bedding outside? They're like, no, everything's fine. I'm like, but did I really sweat? Because I swear to God, I felt like I was in a pool of sweat. It was just the weirdest thing. So allow your mind, body, and soul to kind of catch up with each other. So, Naz said, do you have a son? Yeah, Anna's like, menopause is a crazy whirlwind. Yep. Anna, Jessica, and myself are all within like a year age of each other. Anna and I are just a few days apart, but um, Jessica is almost, or no, she's like a year and a half older, I think, but we're like around the same age. So we like really know. That's so interesting that you said that about if I have a son, because I don't have any children, but I when I was 25, I had cervical cancer and I got pregnant with my first husband and I had an abortion. And not because I wanted to, but because Jessica, I'm almost a senior. Not yet. Not yet. We're still so young and vital and beautiful. Um, but yeah, so unfortunately, I listened to my doctors and the cancer specialists and my husband who was begging me to abort the baby. And so I did. And it was really horrible. It was a horrible thing. And then 3 years later, I was pulled to donate my eggs to a couple who were having a baby. And so, Jessica, I can't wait for the senior discounts. I know, dude, that's not even funny because there's this really cute RV community around here, and it's not like your typical mobile park because it's the Olympic Peninsula, right? So it's like really cool, but they have a strict rule that you have to be 55 and older. And I was like, I'm gonna be 55 in a year in like 3 or 4 months. I'm like, really? I'm like, come on. I'm like, cool, right? But that's just so funny. And anyway, and I don't talk about losing children or having, you know what I mean, like lightly. It's just that I've gone through all that and I've been through all that. And but it's really interesting that you asked if I have a son because we are. Anna says we're Crohn's. That's right. We're in our Crohn. Because years ago, this really powerful medium who she's the real fucking deal. I mean, she was saying shit, there's no way, you know what I mean? Like she's one of the reasons I even like started walking my path. And when I was the whole time I was there, I kept oh, thank you. The whole time I was there, I kept wanting to ask her if I was going to have a child because of, you know, I felt in a way I lost two children, right? Because one I lost because I was sick, and one I gave away to replace the child that I felt like I killed. And it was like, it felt like karma because there are times where I feel like, you know, even now I have moments where I'm like, I think I could have made it, especially because a lot of you guys know one of our tribe members, Jules, she found out when she was pregnant that she had a tumor the size of a grapefruit that was literally like riding on the side of her amniosac where her baby was. And they thought that she was going to lose the baby. And her and Benny both made it through. And both, like, he doesn't have anything. He's like one of the most brightest, most intelligent, amazing, beautiful souls ever. And I mean, seriously, he's like a little man and this little boy, very old soul. And, you know, both of them are fine. And she's never had any cancer come back. So it's really powerful. Thank you, Anna. So, you know, it's very interesting that, again, that you say that because when I was leaving the appointment with her, I never got a chance to ask her if I was going to have another child because I always felt like I was going to have another child in this life. And when I was leaving, she hugged me and she whispered in my ear, yes, you will have one child. I go, how do you know? I'm like, I didn't even fucking say that to you. I'm like, I was thinking that the whole time. She goes, I know, Michael told me. Because when I was there, she's the one that first told me that Archangel Michael walked with me. Because she's like, I've been doing this for 22 years. And she's like, my mother had it, my grandmother, like, you know, she's like, I was born into this. You know, I didn't just come into it, blah, blah, blah. And she was so cool and she was so famous. And it was really hard to, like, it's like years to get out to get an appointment with her kind of person, you know. She's like the Long Island medium. So really, she was really big in the Midwest where I grew up. And before you start your session, she always says, okay, your session is going to be at this time, but you need to be here at this time because you need to listen to something. And you go into a waiting room and it's like a half an hour. And it's like a documentary of basically like how she came into her gifts, her family, and she answers all these questions for you. Oh, thanks for being here, Naz. Thank you, thank you. Every Sunday at noon, unless Spirit tells me otherwise, we'll be here. And make sure to check out all the other readings. I just put out a brand new reading of Dreams and Desires. I don't know if you guys saw that yet. It's a really cool pick a reading. It's a group reading, a channeling. And there was a lot of messages that came through channeling for people. A lot came through in a short period of time. So if you guys were looking for answers or messages, there you go. And we thank you all for being here and for holding space for us today. Thank you. And for bringing in, whenever you guys speak, you bring in different, we're having different conversations. We're meant to have these conversations. That's why when people are like, oh, I don't want to listen to that, it's for somebody else. It's like, yeah, but sometimes it might be a message in there for you too. You never know. So thank you. We are so blessed to have you here with us. And we hope you return. And thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you to all of you who keep coming back. I love you so much. I say prayers of love and happiness and abundance and good health for all of us every day. I love you so much. Thank you. But yeah, it was really wild. She told me I was going to have a child. And here I am at 53. And I was saying to Spirit the other day, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. But it's interesting because I had a dream, I don't know when it was, and it was when Alder and I were in a really good place, and I saw us as parents. And it struck a chord in me so deeply that I don't know when it was, soon after we were hanging out, we were having a really good day, it was really good energy, and I said, hey, I forgot to tell you I had this dream that we had a child. And he's like, oh, that's weird. And I was like, yeah. And I was going through menopause at the time. And I was like, well, stranger things have happened. They said that some women, during menopause, it's like that one last, it's like it was meant to be, So it's kind of interesting. But then I said to him, I don't feel like I'm meant to carry a child in this world. I feel like if I was, I would. And when I was, I had to give myself 3 shots a day to, get my eggs and my energy and everything to align with the woman I was, donating my eggs to. It was a 9-month process. It was really intense. And if you want to do something like that, I highly encourage it. It's beautiful, but be prepared for the heartbreak too, because I chose that family for so many reasons. But one of the main reasons I chose them was because they wanted to have me in the child's life if I wanted to. And as we all felt like it was comfortable. And so I just was really excited about that. And it was in our contract, but there was also, they had an out clause. There were certain things that we did an out clause on for both of us just to protect, because at that time I was 28 and I was like, well, what if I do end up having kids? And like, what if I just don't want to be a part, what if that was just me giving back for the child that I took, it was just this karmic balance that even then I didn't understand what I was, but I understood that I was meant to do that. And it was crazy because we were looking for a house and I kept seeing all these signs. Like I was watching this Oprah episode and that's when it became really big where people were donating their sperm and their eggs for people to have babies. People were being surrogates to carry babies. And I was like, do you want me to be a surrogate? Do you want me to do this? Do you want to do that? I was just like, I kept, kind of like putting it out, praying. That's when I was just in prayer mode. I didn't understand what I was really doing. And then the final straw was when I was looking for a home and there was this big ad, like a few inches big, and it was so big and it stood out of all the and this is when I was still looking in the newspaper, you guys. It wasn't the computer. I was looking in a newspaper. And because we're talking like 27, 28 years ago when I first started to get this into my mind. The internet wasn't as big as it is now. And it said it was like a want ad for me, looking for blonde, blue-eyed, American, like all these things, right? Like what they were looking for, intelligent, preferably a med student or a lawyer or, blah, 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 blah. And it was weird. It was like reading all about me. It was like everything except for I was really intelligent and all that, but I wasn't a doctor and I wasn't a lawyer, but funnily enough, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was younger. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. So that's kind of how I was like, and then I loved that the company that they were, Anna says, wow, that's a lovely thing to do. And hello, Guided by the Light. Welcome. Would you like to have Do you have any questions? By the way, Anna, if you guys have any questions, I said it earlier, but we're an hour in now almost. So if you have any questions from Spirit, or if you have a past on loved one that you want to talk to, we can wrap this up. It doesn't have to be, you can just have a question about yourself, and either a loved one will come through, or they'll have me grab cards, or we'll just channel whatever we're meant to do. But thank you, Anna, for drawing my attention to that. You are welcome here with grace and gratitude into my home. All of you are. Thank you so much. But it was a really powerful thing, and I just followed the breadcrumbs. And the thing I loved the most about it was a brand new company who it was all run by women. And the reason why they started the company was because this woman and her husband couldn't have children, and they went through the surrogacy system when it was first happening. And she hated every step of it because it was all men, and they didn't treat her very well. And she said, this is a very sensitive subject for everybody involved. She's like, when I went in to interview them, we were interviewing each other, of course, but she told me right out the gate when I showed up, and not to throw flowers myself, but I was like in my prime, I was looking good and all that. And she's like, you're literally like the dream. You're like what everybody wants. So she's like, you're going to have so many people, you literally get to choose. And so she said, she goes, we chose the surrogate. She goes, but I always thought it should be the other way around. The surrogate should be able to choose the family, like who they get along with. It's such a big deal and such a long process. So I never met them. It was sad. And it only happened because all the doctors and the nurses that I worked with for the first few months before I met them would tell them how awesome I was. And I guess I looked a lot like her, and I don't know if there was like some things there, but they literally wrote me a letter. It was really sad. And she sent me a beautiful gift and everything, but she wrote me a letter, and she said, I just have this concern that my children will see you and not me. And I don't want that. She's like, I'll be their mother. Thank you for your eggs. She's like, but I will be their mother, because, and I should say, not is donation. So I wasn't a surrogate holding the child, but they were my eggs. So they took my eggs and her husband's sperm, and they put them together inside of her. And I know for a fact she got pregnant. The only thing that they let me know is I know she got pregnant, and I know she had the baby. They never told me the name of the child or if it was a boy or a girl. I always felt like it was a girl. And the first time I got pregnant, I thought I was having a girl. So this whole story and everything I'm telling you guys from Nas, all Nas did was plant that seed, because it was kind of interesting, because when I asked Spirit if I was going to have, I'm like, well, that's gone, right? And I just got this huge yes with my pendulum that I was going to have a child in this lifetime. And I'm like, what? So when he said a boy, I thought, so when I talked to Alder about it, I said, I'm like, would you ever want to adopt? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, we're too old for that. And that was when we were still in our I think late 40s. So it's kind of interesting, but me, whatever I'm meant to do, whatever shows up, whatever, you know what I mean? For a while I thought maybe Bubba, because, she's a cat, but so that's so interesting that he said that. That's so interesting that he said that. It's so bizarre, but it's not, you know what I mean? Because he's divinely connected. He's a light worker too. So let's see, guided by light. Do you have a name that you would like us to call you, or a nickname, or a letter, or anything? So, can I ask if I'm going to be moving home soon? I found a house I love, but I'm having to bid for it, but I'm just so drawn to it. Oh, Alana, haven't you been here before? I feel like I know you. Like when I saw Guided by Light, we know you, right? Aren't you one of our tribe members? Your little, your little picture thing, and I saw right away, and then Guided by Light. I was like, oh, we know you. I feel like we know you. That's right. Alana, we contacted your dad. That's right. Oh, yeah. You changed your name. That's what it is. Because your dad, we spoke to your dad, And then you changed your name. I subscribed to your channel. You're such a good reader, by the way. You guys, if you get a chance, will you please give Guided by Light some love, because they're a very good reader. If you're the person I think you are, I believe, because your dad had just passed, right? And I'm hearing no on the house, by the way. Your dad's saying you should never have to bid for it, or you won't have to bid for it, or something like that. Like, as I was reading your thing, let's put it this way. I was reading and I heard, "Oh, can I ask if I'm going to be moving home soon? I found a house." And I heard, no. And then I heard, "I love, but I'm having to bid for it." And I heard, "You don't need to bid for anything." And then I read, "But I'm just so drawn to it." Now, sometimes you could be drawn to something because especially if it's an old house, you could be drawn to it because you lived there before. You could be drawn to it because you're going to know somebody who lives there, or know somebody that lived there before. And the reason why I say this is because one time I had this situation where I was so drawn to, in Hollywood, California, there's this old vintage hotel. It's really famous. It's called the Chateau Marmont. And a lot of celebrities stay there. There's a lot of like stories from rock stars and legends, and a lot of cool things that have transpired at the Chateau Marmont. And so, of course, when I went there, I was like, I have to go there, What did you say? It is an old house. Okay, that makes sense. So I was drawn to it, but I never went there. For something would happen. And then Steve Kojikaro, who they called Kojo, he used to have a show on E! Entertainment. He was like one of my dearest friends before he became famous. We were just kids, like young people coming from where we came from. And, it's interesting when you live in LA, you find so many people. Like, one of my neighbors, who was one of my greatest friends, was the little boy from Kramer versus Kramer. I was like, I didn't even know that until it was his birthday, and somebody like gave him some shit about something. And I'm like, dude, your little shirt. I was working at Planet Hollywood in Beverly Hills at the time. And I was like, dude, your little shirt's in a frame at Planet. I'm like, you have to come in there. He's like, really? That's so crazy. I'm like, yeah, it has like chocolate milk or ice cream. He's like, oh yeah, I remember that scene. And I was just like, because they're just people, right? They're just making art. But anyway, Kojo had his birthday party at the Chateau Marmont in a bungalow. And when I found out, I was like, oh my gosh, I finally get to go to the Chateau Marmont, and I have a reason to go there, right? So he said, when you get there, check in with the concierge, because the Chateau Marmont is its own building, and there's a restaurant and a bar and everything. But then on the property, they have like independent little bungalows, like little houses. So I get there, and there's people there. It's like, it's busy, whatever. But it was kind of bizarre because I'd never been there before. I guess bizarre to me because I just assumed that the doors would be open. But looking back on it now, it makes sense. So I walk in, and it's like this, I could get into the whole thing, but just basically there was doors closed. All I could see was a room and the check-in guy, and like the keys and stuff behind him. And then like, because it was old school, right? And then on the wall behind me, there were like pictures everywhere, framed pictures. And it was decorated, you know what I mean? But to me, it was almost like there was nothing there. I don't know how to explain it any other way. So as I'm waiting for all of these people to, where do I go? How do I do this? How I'm checking in, blah, 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 whatever. I went to go look at right when I decided to go look at the pictures, I go up to the front thing, and I got this chill over my body that I could not explain. And again, I don't know what I am. I'm like 23. I'm from Chicago. I just moved to LA. I think I'd lived there maybe 6 or 7 months at that point. And all of a sudden I had these visions, and they came in so fast, really fast, really fast, really fast, really fast. And I felt like I was there, and I was like, what is fucking happening? I'm like, what's happening? And all of a sudden when the guy looks at me, he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. I said, is there like a bar or like a restaurant or something like through those doors? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, it's Bar Marmont, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, oh, is it like Casablanca? Like, I kind of like seeing like kind of like Morocco, like the 20s, like the 30s. It was just really interesting. He goes, oh, he goes, oh, were you looking at the pic? Like, it wasn't even in his like mind that he was like, oh, and he's like, oh, were you looking at the pictures on the wall? And I go, no, actually. I go, it's funny you said that. I'm like, I was going to, but I, just kind of stood here and waited. And Yes. So Alana says, it's so strange how spirit draws us to things. Exactly. Thanks for the hugs. Hugs and kisses to you too, soul sister. Um, and I start explaining it on. He goes, wow. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, so you haven't seen the pictures? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, he's like, so anyway, he's like, what are you here for? And I said, I'm here for Steve's birthday party. And he's like, oh, he's in a bungalow. And I said, yeah. And he's like, okay, so you have to go through here. And he's like telling me, and I'm like, okay. And he's like, but you might want to go and take a look at those pictures. And he's like, if you've never been here before and you saw those pictures, he's like, you must have saw something or whatever. And I'm like, maybe. I'm like, I don't know. So I go look on the wall, and it was a picture from when they first fucking built it. The wicker high back chairs, like the whole, that's the only way I could really describe it. It just had this Casablanca feel with like the ceiling fans and like, cause it's LA, right? They didn't have air conditioning systems back then, but LA can get really hot. People forget that Los Angeles is part of the desert. It's going to the ocean, but it's between, the mountains, and, it's like on the other side of the mountains is the desert. So it was just really interesting. And those are the kind of things that were, and like in that same week, I like went down Marilyn Monroe Street where her house was, and I didn't know. And I was like, I was drawn to this house. Come to find out later, it's the house that Marilyn died in. You know what I mean? Like all this fucking crazy shit. Then I was in an elevator in Brentwood. Now, mind you, these are like different places. They're all Los Angeles. It's LA County, but Los Angeles has like little burbs. It's like New York. It's like, it's all New York, but you have Manhattan and Soho and NoHo, and you know what I mean? But I was in an elevator in Brentwood going to work, and this guy gets into the elevator with me, and he starts saying all these things to me about my gifts and that I'm a seer. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and he starts asking me all these questions. Like, he's like, I bet you go things and you go to places and you've never been there before. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, it was crazy. It was so good. But it's like, it makes me realize looking back, that I always knew. I just didn't want to see it. I didn't want to know, but I did, but I didn't, but I did, but I didn't, but I did, but I didn't, because it was so scary. And also because of where I came from and the way I was raised, it was taboo. It was wrong. I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it was wrong. So I didn't want to go against God. I wanted to go to heaven, right? So like, if you spoke in tongues and, which is light language, if you spoke in, or you connected with spirits, that was the devil's work. When I would say to my mom, when I really came into my gifts, and I would say to my mom, I've always done this. You know this. I've always been like this. I've always knew numbers or knew when things were going to happen or told us we need to go. And you know what I mean? I'm that person that was like, we need to go now. And a piano that they're lifting up to the 5th floor falls to the ground and breaks, like you see in a movie. Like I've been doing shit like that since my eyes were open. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe, Alana, this is spirit really pushing you to investigate your gifts, to look into your gifts. I had a feeling this channeling was going to be different. I wasn't pulled to bring decks or anything like that. Also, I use decks. I love them. They're super awesome visual aids, but Spirit had me going back into this podcast form because it's really about us connecting. We all can do what we do, right? We're all as psychic as each other. It's just, I work at it every day. This is my calling, right? It's like when we work at it every day, we get stronger, we get stronger, we get stronger. When I first started doing readings for people, I read for friends and family, and it was by donation only because I'm like, I'm just coming into this. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then I got to a point where I knew I was good. I understood my worth. So then I started charging and raised my rates. And over the years, would raise my rates. I remember when I raised my rates last year to $125 an hour and $85 for recorded reading. One of my, I'll just say, tribe, but I mean, we're not really talking that much. I don't know if we'll come back into contact, but I just got this vibe that they were like, oh, that's kind of high. And I was like, I'm so cheap. I'm like the cheapest. Now I've gone back to donation only. Like, I really do feel that, because I feel like most people who are connected and do work with me, they're like honed into it. You know what I mean? Like they know, like what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, and, I've had people who are like, I'm like, why that amount? They're like, Spirit told me to. I'm like, Okay, I'm like, that's awesome. One time somebody sent me $177, and I was like, what is that? Like, I mean, it's funny because my life path number is 7, but I was like, that's so interesting, you know? It's like, why were you drawn to that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I was just really drawn to it, which is 177, and 7 and 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, it's 6. So it's like, is it a 6 was a number for them, a number for me? I mean, you just go on and on. But also, you guys, Spirit has drawn me to revamp my Amazon wish list because I believe you can, it's international. So you should be able to, like, you know, if you want to do something like that, because they're not having me get an international way to like give money. But also, you know, I have to say, you guys, prayer is just so powerful, and it is the number one currency, and it's free. So I always say, if it's in your wheelhouse to do so, definitely. I'll also set an open frame on my Amazon wish list that you can either send me something from my wish list that start at $10 and go up to, I think, 100 and something. Or if you're really drawn to a deck, or you're really drawn to, you know, Jessica, can you put some boots on the list in case I don't find any? You're so cute. You know what? I will. You're so awesome. Thank you. You know what, boots? I don't know about that. It's so funny that you say that, because Alder and I, when we went hiking at Hurricane Ridge, I got these amazing gym shoes, these really good walking shoes. And when we were going up there, we had to stop because my feet were killing me, my toes, because you know, like, there's a reason why you use hiking boots, and my ankles. I was like, honey, there's too many boulders and stuff. I'm like, these are ankle busters. I need hiking boots. I'm like, I need hiking boots. He's like, okay. But hiking boots, I think the reason why you're not meant to send them to me, or I'm not meant to put them on the list, is because my feet, one of my feet are bigger than the other. And so, and by like almost a half inch. It's crazy. So I really have to try them on, and I have to walk in them for a while. And of course, Spirit can have me use my pendulum, but I can be doing that for days. So if they draw me to, I absolutely will. If not, I put all different things on there. I put, just recently, I put nail polish. I need new blankets, pillowcase covers, just like, oh, and you know what, you guys, there's one, yeah, she's like, I have the same issue. I get it. There's one thing I put on there that I really want, and it's a new calendar for next year, and it's not that pricey. I think it's like $30 or something, but it's the lunar calendar. I just fell in love with it. Spirit drew me to it. And when I kept saying, I don't want to use Amazon, you know, fuck Jeff Bezos and these millionaires and blah, 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 Spirit was like, you never know why things are the way they are. So sometimes I wonder if maybe Amazon's creator is like a double agent. When they initially started, the whole reason why they started that was because they loved books and blah, blah, blah. They were like a very different person. But time, energy, people can change you. So I don't know. You know, there's a lot of things there. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's going to be, his money is going to be inherited to the world or through his children, and they're going to do good things in the world. I don't know. You guys know, all I do is I ask my spirit guides. I ask my higher self, you know, what is the best thing from you? You know, what do I need right now? You know, those kind of things. But yeah. And I put nail polish on there. I would never normally pay, you know, because I'm sure with tax and shipping, unless you have Amazon Prime, I would never spend like $20 for nail polish, but it's like an organic gel, and it's one that's supposed to stay on long. And you know, you guys know me, I love my little boy hands. I work with my hands in the dirt and like herbs and like food and all that, but I miss my pretty toes. I miss having pretty toes. So I did put in a bottle of nail polish, but there's a shitload of decks on there too. There's so many decks that I want, but yeah, so, you know, that's what they're having me do. So I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with, you know, because everything happens for a reason, and it's really all about karma. You know, it's like what you put out is what you get back. And I said this in one of the readings I just did recently. It's true. So many of you guys will be like, dude, every time I send you money or a gift, and you light a candle for me, I'm like, money comes into my life or things happen. I'm like, yeah, because when you keep it flowing, it just comes in easily. It just comes in naturally. So, but yeah, and Alana, I hope we answered your questions. Do you have any more deeper questions into that? I know we veered off a lot today, but that's what this is for us to talk to each other. You know, it's just straight channeling. Some people, you know, they have what they need. Because Alana, I did feel like that was your dad, by the way. I feel like your dad was saying no on the house. And if you're drawn to the house, you need to find out. And it could be this too, Alana. It could be that I just heard this too. You could be drawn to the house, but maybe it's not time for you to buy it. There are many places and many homes in my lifetime that I've been drawn to, and I'm like, I'm going to live there, or that's my house. Or, I remember when I had said to Spirit, I want to live in like a cool old like Victorian mansion, but I want it like in the woods. Like, how can I get my little witchy Baba Yaga, my little witchy castle in the woods? How do I get that? How do I do that? So most likely I'll probably end up somewhere in Europe or somewhere in the US that like, you know, I don't know. I mean, the area that I live in now, it's really funny when we took my mom, which by the way, can we just have a side prayer for my mom for a moment? Can we just all like, can you guys all send my mama some love? Today, technically is a year that my mom passed. Tomorrow is the date, right? But because it was just a year, I feel like it's more like it was a year ago exactly today that my mom died. And tomorrow is interesting that it's the first anniversary because it's on Moon Day. You guys know I'm a moon baby, and Moon Day is always really blessed for me. And it's interesting because I'm running errands with Alder tomorrow. So did you guys hear that? My candle just crackled, and it's been on since before this started, and it's a 6-hour candle. So that's really, hi mama. So my mom's here. Yeah, wow. Yay, Anna, mama, bless her soul. Yes, Alana, sending your mom and you love. Yeah, you know what's interesting? Anna, you and Alana are both, I think I said this before, both of you guys are British. I don't know your origins. And you don't have to say what towns you're in or where. I mean, you can say if you want to, but you don't have to share that if you don't want to. Thank you for the candles for my mama. Yeah, and you know what? Let's light a candle. I'm going to light a candle for you, mama. We love you, Mom. Oh, I miss her. But I've been having a lot of breakthroughs with that too, because, in this human world, and honestly, the reason why we have to really thank my mom is because one of the last times I had planned to kill myself, it was a true plan. I mean, I had it planned out. Absolutely. Anna's from the East Midlands. Down to the fact that like I was writing letters for every person that was in my life that may not understand why I needed to go. It was in my late 30s, and so much had happened, and I won't get into it, but it was just a really rough time for me. And I was so calm, and my mom was terrified, and I could see how terrified she was because she knew I was going to do it. She said, so here's how dramatic I was. And I say that with love to my older self, and I cradle her with such love in my heart and in my arms because I was so lost. But I tried to go to New York a gazillion times. I tried to go to the East Coast a gazillion times. It just never worked out. And finally, I was like, okay, I get it. I'm going to die in New York. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to spend all of my money. I had some money saved, and I had my Jeep. And so I had decided I was going to get in my Jeep. I was going to leave everything with my mom, all my like vintage stuff, my antiques, the code to I had stuff in a storage unit for all my vintage stuff. Totally prepared. And I was going to drive my Jeep to New York City. I was going to spend all of my money and have a fucking blast. Oh my gosh, you guys are cute. You're in the East and the West Midlands. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I love it so much. You're both in the Midlands and the East and the West. Do you guys remember when I said you guys should move in together? I was like, you guys should move in together. That's so weird. I got this vibe then, so that's so weird. You guys need to move to Glastonbury together. Seriously. But no, for real. So I was going to drive my Jeep to New York, have a blast, and then I was going to jump off the Washington Bridge, I think it was, whatever the highest bridge in New York is, the one that people kill themselves from. I was going to climb to the top of that and jump off. That was my, goodbye, cruel world, but I'm going to go out with a fucking bang. I'm going to go party in New York. I'm going to eat New York pizza. I'm going to go fuck some hot New York guy. I'm going to literally, I had it all planned out. And when my mom realized because before it was like, either she stopped me from killing myself. My aunt one time had to stick her hand on my throat to make me puke the pills up. The one time I, slipped my wrist, but I didn't cut deep enough, like just all these like things. This was different because I realized that I didn't want to like take pills and fall asleep. I was like, no, I want to go get so fucked up, have the best day ever, and take a swan dive off this fucking bridge and leave a letter, in my Jeep so that people know, like, this was my choice. This is what I wanted. I lived a great life. I just don't want to be here anymore. I don't belong here, blah, 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 blah. But in that moment when I was sharing everything with my mom, and she knew, and I knew, and we both knew that this was going to happen, I saw the panic and the fear because she was like, I go, Mom, you can't be with me every second. I said, and she's like, so what does that mean? So when I turn my back, you're just going to go? And I'm like, yes. And you need to be okay with it. I'm like, Mom, I don't belong here. I've never belonged here. I don't belong in this family. I'm so weird. I'm so different. I'm tired. I'm tired of the voices. I don't want to be on medication. I don't know what these voices are. I'm like, but I don't want to live my life like this. I mean, I was at a job, you guys know I've told you this before, where my one boss was like, we miss you. I don't know what the fuck you're on, but ever since you started going to therapy and they got on these medications, they're like, something's really wrong with you. And I'm like, I don't want to walk around like a zombie. And she's like, but your highs are high and your lows are lows. And she was like, all concerned about, my chemical imbalance like grandma and blah, blah, blah. Now I realize, no, I was a medium like grandma. I have gifts like grandma. So the last thing my mom said was, you don't know whose life you're going to save. She said, you don't know whose life you're going to change. I know it seems grim and I know you feel lost right now. She's like, but instead of thinking about you and your survival and she goes, think about, because my nieces and nephews were pretty young at the time. They were like in high school and I was really close to them. And she's like, you will devastate your sister and your brother. You will devastate your nieces and nephews. You will devastate your family. You will devastate your friends. And I'm like, Mom, do you get it? I'm like, I had so many friends. I was so blessed. I can get any job. I realized like I could be rich and famous if I wanted to be. I realized all the things that I could do and whatever. And I was just like, I don't want to be a part of this world. Don't you get it? I don't want to fucking be here. I'm like, it's just getting worse. I don't like it here. I don't feel right here. It hurts to be alive, Mom. I'm like, the only time I feel good is when I'm drunk or I'm stoned or both. And then when I knew I had to quit alcohol, I said to Spirit, please don't take my cannabis. Just don't take my cannabis. That's all I'm saying. Like, just don't take my cannabis. And you know what? And I smoke it every day and it's part of me because that's my connection to Spirit. It helps me because and it helps me navigate the voices. It helps me, you know what I mean? Like I had to learn, and now it's not for everybody, but it works for me. My partner loves shrooms. Shroom is their medicine. Cannabis is mine. DMT is their medicine. Cannabis is mine. Like I don't need anything else. Do I miss a good glass of wine once in a while? Sure. And I know I'll be able to do that again someday. But I needed to figure out and decipher the voices in my head, the ones that I thought I could trust, the ones from my birth that were the voices, the shadow, the darkness, the demons. They knew from the beginning, but so were the angels. Alana says, I hear the voices and honestly, you really do feel crazy sometimes. You do. I mean, I saw something recently where Carl Jung was talking about empaths and mediums, and he's like, they have the hardest fucking road on this planet, period. And the telepathic mediums, like myself, I mean, if someone isn't guarded and they aren't, you know what I mean? Like if they're not guarded and they don't have any walls up and they're just like walking through, it's like being an exposed nerve. I feel what they're feeling. I hear what they're thinking. You know what I mean? And for years, I thought it was crazy. I'd be talking to people that I love and hear them say, you stupid bitch, or, ugh, I hate you. These awful voices. And when I would say things, that's why when I was in therapy, one of my therapists was like, that's not you. That's, or she'd say, that's, how did she word it? I'm trying this, because I've been to psychologists, psychiatrists, you name it. I've seen them. Therapists, spiritual guidance counselors, mediums, I mean, I've been trying to figure out the fuck I am for 53 years, But she said something, I'm paraphrasing, but she said something to the effect of that was me, that was my inner hatred of myself. And that because one of the times it was my sister, but I always felt like my sister hated me. And then my mom finally, like a few years before my mom died, one of the last conversations we had when she came to visit me, she told me, she's like, your sister has been jealous of you. And I said, that's so weird because I looked up to her. I like worshiped her. I tried to be like her, emulate her, dress like her, be like her. So it's like ironic that my mom's like, well, she's not jealous of, she knows she's beautiful. She knows, blah, blah, blah. She's like, but the only thing she never got to do was be free because she got pregnant, while they were like, while the wedding was being planned. It was her high school sweetheart, and it was all good and everything. But, we had to move the wedding up and they were upset because they wanted to travel, her and my brother-in-law, like they wanted to travel the world. They wanted to do all these things before they had a family. So she was 22, and that's not the way she wanted it to be. All the women in my family, like my mom, basically, my mom had my sister when she was 18. My grandma had my mom when she was 18, and my great grandmother had my grandmother when she was 18. So my sister was like trying to break the cycle of not being like that. She was like, no, I want to, my Aunt Kim got pregnant with the first guy she ever had sex with when she was 16, and he left her. My cousin never knew his father. He was a horrible person, and that's like a whole other thing. But, so my sister was like bound and determined not to be like that. And so my mom said, I feel like there's a part of her that's always hated you, not you, but just like that you left, I left home, I moved to LA, I had this really fun life, and, now I lived in all these states and I've moved around and I've traveled, and, and so it's really interesting. Now they're doing all the things that they want to do. They just did it at a different time, and they were meant to have those kids at that time. You know what I mean? Like it was all meant to be. But it's interesting how that works out. So I had a lot of self-loathing and a lot of self-hatred, because a lot of times when I would talk to the people that I love the most, my best friends and my sister, family members, I would hear these horrible things that they were saying. And I swear to God, I internalized that because that therapist told me that that was me hating myself. I thought I was fat. So, you know what I mean? And it was like, that's just a therapist who, looking back on it, barely saw me and was like, okay, these are the medications we need to put you on. These are the pills we need to put you on. And I remember when everybody talked me into seeing this psychiatrist, they're like, well, you want a psychiatrist because they're the ones that could put you on meds like grandma. And everybody kept saying, oh, you're crazy like grandma. Grandma's on meds. And my mom's like, the doctor explained it to me like this, that the reason why, you're having these issues is because these neurons aren't connecting to these neurons and blah, blah. And she gave me this whole scientific reasoning why I was hearing these voices. My grandma used to say the radio was talking to her. She's like, who is that? Who's talking to me? And now looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, my poor grandmother. She was jacked up on so many fucking pills and shit. And everybody telling her she was crazy. And all she did was smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. And coffee and cigarettes are horrible for an empath or a sensitive because of the caffeine and the nicotine. Now we're finding that actually, yes, these things are good for us, right? Like coffee is good for us. Nicotine is good for healing and whatever, but not everybody's body types can handle that. We're really, really at this point pulling apart, especially with you guys being in the UK. Like most of my ancestors come from the UK, So, it's like these kind of things, like nobody wanted to get to the root of like why my grandmother was having these things. It was just like, grandma's crazy. Oh, now you're crazy just like grandma, because it made them feel better to put me in a box or put a label on me. You know what I'm saying? Alana said something here. Let me see. I've been hearing my dad's voice so much lately. I doubt myself sometimes, but I'm sure he's one of my spirit guides. He's absolutely one of your spirit guides. That's why you came to me, and that's why he told you to change the name, because he's with you and you're feeling him so strong. But that's why, because I think it was like Lorenzo's light or something, his name. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but that's what he was trying to say. Like, here's the other thing you guys have to remember. When our ancestors die, we get their gifts. When my mom died last year, and even now, sometimes I'm like, holy shit. Like these energies will come in and I'm like, whoa, this is old. We are old. We have done this many, 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 many lifetimes. not just on Earth. Although I do believe that the empaths and the earth angels and the mediums on Earth now are definitely soul guardians from the beginning of some kind, because we love Earth so much. We are the guardians, like we are the protectors. We get really, like don't tread on Gaia, you know what I mean? Like we get pissed off. Don't hurt an animal, don't hurt a human. Not your fucking right. You don't get to do that. You know what I mean? We just love each other so much. Like we take care of each other. We look out for each other. But the mediums and the empaths, from the beginning, that's one of the things that I knew I was meant to be a teacher, when my teachers, who were from different backgrounds at different times, told me that I was brought here to be a medium and a channel and a teacher to help other light workers figure out their gifts. And that's another reason why I think they want, when we started Sacred Sunday on Mother's Day, Mama, I love it. We started Sacred Sunday on Mother's Day. It was my first Mother's Day where my mother had crossed over, and I was not having an easy time leading up to it, because a lot of I had stopped talking to my mom for a few years, and my not so nice brother, my blood and bone brother, came on to my channel under one of my readings and told me that my mom died in the comments. And he even went as far as to say, but I guess if you're a medium, you already know, LOL. Like, so, sometimes we have to break away from people, places, and things that are not good for us, but the triggers are there too to help us for a reason. It's like the triggers are there to trigger us until we're not triggered by it anymore, until it doesn't upset us anymore. And as much as I know you miss your dad and love your dad and you guys were so close, he's with you. He's there with you right now. He's sitting with you right now. He's like, I'm always here. I'm always going to be with you. And what did you say? I've been hearing my dad's voice so much lately, I doubt myself sometimes, but I'm sure he's one of my spirit guides. And Anna said, that's endearing to hear your dad's voice guiding you. And then Alana said, I had to see a therapist too, and they just stuck me on antidepressants. Exactly. Anna says they easily put you on antidepressants, right? And she says, bless you. Yeah. So, well, you know what? Let's put it this way. I'm happy and not happy to hear this news. I'm happy to hear this news that I'm not alone, that your country's doing the same fucking bullshit. But unhappy to hear that you had to go through that too. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was on so many different things. And the last thing I was on was Seroquel, which when I found out more about it, one of my really good friends was like, dude, get the fuck off that. That's like a tranquilizer drug. I'm like, what? And I don't remember exactly what they told me it was for, but he was like, seriously, he's like, I think he said they use that in tranquilizer darts for animals. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, no. He's like, I'm not kidding you. That's why you're feeling so flatlined. That's why everybody says you're so flatlined, because all it does is it suppresses our emotions so that we don't get too high and we don't go too low. And what I realized was the reason why I was riding the high highs and riding the low lows is because if I was around energy, like if I went to a club and I was drinking and I was dancing and everybody's like, woo, yeah, let's have a good time, I was like, woo, yeah, and I was riding the wave, But if my friend found out her boyfriend cheated on her and caught him kissing another girl at the club and we went outside and she was crying, I would be crying with her, and I'd be like, dude, I'm so sorry, and I could go from that extreme within seconds. That's why a lot of actors, are on, they're like, oh yeah, I'm bipolar. Ariana Grande, spoke about it, that same thing. I mean, it's like, or when people are like, now that I'm back on my medication, I'm better. And my goal is to get people off medications. I went through a really strong period of time where I was working with a lot of people who were either on medications or dealing with autism, either themselves or their children. And what I realized when I was working with spirit was that, these people, these children, they're not autistic. They just have special gifts that the norm, that this third dimensional experience doesn't want to acknowledge. They want to keep suppressing, right? Because Earth is magic. Everything on and in Earth is magic. And so the third dimensional energy, when they knew how to control and do all the things that have led us to where we are now in 2025, now we're at the unraveling, You know, we spoke about this on one of the podcast prophets. It's called I think it was titled The Unraveling or something like that. And it's about us doing that. I've been going through that as well. I'm like, why am I reliving these things that I thought I was really done with? But then because I look at them differently now, you're always going to look at things with different eyes. Spirit will have me. I just watched When Harry Met Sally. It was one of my favorite movies of all time. The first 10 minutes, I was going verbatim. I'm like, I can literally like do a stand up or like, I can go act this out. I know it too well. I'm like, why do you want me to watch this? But it was so beautiful because I remember when I saw that when Harry Met Sally came out, and I remember thinking that they were old. They're in their early 30s, you know, like when they get to their adult, they're like early to mid 30s or whatever. And looking at it now, I just saw it in such a different scope, and just this desperation with women, especially Carrie Fisher's character, where she's like, you know, he's never going to leave him. Everybody knows that she's having an affair with a married man, and they're just like, oh, it's okay. And it's just accepted. And she's like, so the other day, she's like, I noticed on his, you know, credit card statement that, you know, he bought a negligee for his wife. And she's like, I don't think he's ever going to leave her. They're like, he's never going to leave her. Why are you with him, right? And it's like somewhere in that world, she had told herself that she wasn't worthy of love from just one person, that she needed to have love from someone else's partner, that she was in a relationship with somebody who was committing adultery, right? Drink some water, you guys. Ooh, drink some water. And I'm hearing throat chakra. My throat started acting up just when Alana came in. Let's see what she has to say. Because a lot of this, you guys, is tied into our self-worth. And for women especially, you know, we've been told, like, you want to be this person or that person, or take care of your man, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm so grateful for all of the warriors, the light workers who are, you know, in thruples, or they are, you know, it's 2 women or 2 men or whatever you identify with, you know. It's because love is love, and we don't have to fit into these patriarchal fucking bullshit, you know, what we were told is a healthy relationship, you know. And that's with the other side too, right? Like, here you are as a medium, but you're doubting yourself. I saw your readings. They're so good. You're such a natural reader. Like, you're such a natural medium. But I get it. I've been there. When you're coming into your gifts, it takes a while to like start to feel more confident. And I'm proud of you for starting your own channel, because something prompted you to do that. And then your father's death is like exasperating, you know, like all of that energy. And so you're going to feel ungrounded for a while. When my father passed, I feel like whenever our parents pass, there's always something that, like, you know, so my dad went first. He was only 64 when he died. And both of my parents are very, very witchy, very magical creatures, very strong, you know, magic, blood and bone. I can feel it from the old country where you guys are. Like, I can really feel it. I have dreams of Scotland. I have dreams of Ireland. I have dreams of England. I mean, it's just so much. I mean, when I was getting attuned with Reiki, you know, everybody was talking how, you know, sunshine and unicorns, how great their experience was. And I was like, oh, really? I was on a cliff in, I believe, Scotland, and I was being burned alive at the stake. I'm like, I'm not having the same kind of experience that you guys are having. And then I found out later from my Reiki master, she knew I was a natural Reiki, but she was exploiting me and exploiting my gifts to get people. And, you know, I mean, there's just so much fakery and fuckery and a lot of things that are coming around, and karma, and, you know, it's so powerful. So Alana says, I also got diagnosed with mood disorder, but now I realize I was taking on people's energy. At that time, I didn't know I was spiritual, right? Exactly. Like, you didn't know, you've always known you were different, right? And that's all of us on this tribe. Like, we've always felt we were different. We always felt like we had something to say. We had something to give, something to bring, something to do. Like, we've always felt that. But now it's for us to really step into it. And trust me, we're going to be doing more of these, and I'm going to be doing more readings, and a lot of things are going to be changing and evolving and growing. And your dad just said something to me, but I want to check in with him first. So your dad said he talks to you all the time. Is there a candle? I'm picturing, because I did see your readings, and so I was like in that area, but I kind of feel like, is there a candle in the window for your dad, or have you been lighting a candle every day since he died or something? I'm seeing it's either in the window or next to the window. And it feels like stone. It feels like the home that you're in, and maybe it's because when I saw your readings, but that's what I'm picturing. It feels like stone, or it feels really old. It just feels really, really old. You said yes, there is. Okay, yeah. So he says when the flame rises or when it flickers, like somebody's like blowing at it but not putting it out, that's him. So he's saying that, and I'm seeing like a long white taper candle. So I don't know if this is the one you have or if it's the one he wants you to have. I don't know. But he gave you his gifts. All you have to say to spirit is that you accept and receive his downloads, right? Like from the ancestors, because they're ready to give them to you. Alana, I don't even know if you realize you come from a really, really long wine. Ooh, wine. A long line of powerful witches next to the window, and it's an angel candle holder, a tall one. Okay. Yeah, because I saw it elongated, and it wasn't just the flame. I saw something tall, and it's next to the window. Yeah, because I feel like the window was like stone, but it didn't look like you could put it in the window, but I was seeing it in the window. So I don't know if it was a reflection or something from another candle in the house on the window. But definitely I felt a candle next or near a window or in front of a window. But he's saying you don't even realize how far back this goes. Your mom's side actually has a lot of witchery too. If was this your mom that we spoke of? Was she? I'm trying to remember, but I'm feeling a lot of selfish energy around the mom, or maybe she doesn't feed into your gifts. Because my mom was showing me earlier. I did end up. The only reason why I didn't kill myself was because even though my mom said all that stuff to me, my mom told my family. And she did it. I was really angry with her, but she told me later she did it because she was scared. She was like, I knew you were going to do it. And I knew that the only way you wouldn't is because my family, we were born and bred with guilt, man. That old, they call it the Midwestern guilt. You know what I mean? And so I told my mom not to say anything to anybody and that it was between she and I. I told her on Christmas Eve, and we were all going to my sister's house for brunch for Christmas. And when I got to the door, my mom and my stepdad walked in, and like normally everybody, like when I'd go into a family's house, everybody would just be kind of like, sitting around, or it's like, hey, and they might get up and hug you or say hello or come and help you do stuff. But this was like everybody was at the door. It was like my nieces and nephews, and they were like, hi, Aunt Kelly, and they were like hugging me, and then like they were all like trying to keep it together until like my one niece was like, don't die, please don't die. And I was like, oh my god. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, Mom, I'm like, what the fuck, Mom? I'm like, really? And she's like, I'm sorry. She's like, I had to pull out the big guns, She's like, I had to. And the thing that was so sucky about it was that my nieces and nephews, I mean, honestly, I could see how terrified they were and how much they, Naz is back. Welcome back. And I could see how sad and upset that they were. But what really was upsetting is my brother and sister, because they're older than me, like literally read me the riot act. My brother's like, how could you fucking do that? How could you do that? He's like, do you know what that would do to my boys? They love you so much. That would destroy them. That would destroy the kids. Don't you? He's like, don't you think of anybody but yourself? And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what happens when you're suicidal. You're pretty much just thinking about yourself because you've exhausted every possibility. You've done everything you can try and do. And the only thing that feels good to you is death. I'm like, so yes. And my sister was like, well, what? And I go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to live. I don't know what to blah, blah, blah. And my brother's like, I've been thinking about this. He's like, maybe you should be like one of those people who, he's like, you're so good with people and you're so good with kids. He's like, what if you were like the sonogram lady? He's like, he's like, I looked into it, because my family always had a solution for everything. They always had a solution for everything. And I'm like, you know what? Some things don't have a solution. Sometimes we have to come to things on our own. But he was like, you can go to sonogram school and it's not that long. It's not that hard. We'll help you. We'll support you. And he's like, they make a shitload of money. He goes, that way you can, show people their babies all day. And I said, okay. So then what happens if I have a lady who has a stillbirth? Or she has a baby that's, not alive inside of her. I'm like, I don't think I can handle that. I'm like, you're only looking at the good thing. I have to look at everything. And it was really intense. It was really, really intense. intense. And then my sister's like, well, you're really good with animals. Maybe you should, you know, work as a vet tech. They make really good money too. And she's like, same thing. It's like, not that. I was like, and I love them. I do love them. I know they were trying, and I know that they were scared, and they didn't know what else to do. They didn't know what I was or why I'm like this or whatever. But, you know, I realized my mom showed me that, and she was right. If I had died, if I had gone and taken a I'm Year of the Pig, I love it. If I had taken a swan dive off that fucking, you know, the George Washington Bridge in New York and killed myself, we wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I'm sure you guys would have found other people and whatever, you know, but I have read for and helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people, mostly light workers, mostly those who were getting ready to kill themselves, or, you know what I mean? And so it's very, it's so personal. Death and life are both so personal. So let's see, Alana, you were saying, your mom, yes, she has a weird relationship. She's very selfish. Yeah, so interesting. My mom and I were more friends than we were mother and daughter. And in the end, I knew that it was actually, I was giving her a gift by not being there. You know, it was better for her to have the people that were like her church people. You know, she had retired down to the South, and she'd gone even more into her religion, Southern Baptist. And, you know, and when I was like, Mom, you know, I'm this. And she's like, yeah, but, you know, I said, so you think I'm what? This is from the devil, Mom. I'm like, you think I'm Satan? Like, this is you, that's what you think? And she's like, oh, that's what I know. It's in the Bible. And I'm like, Mom, I'm like, the Bible was written by men, and men are like not perfect. So how can you, you know? And she's like, but it was inspired by God. I go, everything's inspired by God. And, you know, my mom and I had some very heated discussions the last time I saw her. It was hard. It was not an easy choice, but I had to like remove my mom from my life, because I'm like, I am, you know, a lot of the reasons why a lot of light workers have a lot of negativity and doubt in their gifts is because of the people that are around them that are either jealous, or they don't understand it, or all of the above, you know. And so I feel like your dad, it's almost like he was meant to go first to give you his power, and so that you can do the things that you need to do. And whether your mom likes it or not, you and I are very similar, Lana. Both of us come from, both sides of our family come from very strong lines of witches. And, you know, that's why I say, you know, welcome witches, healers, and deep down believers in magic, because, you know, witch is just a word. It's just a terminology. Witch, light worker, healer, it's all the same. It's just different modalities of the energy and how we are using it to, you know, bring the light and the love, you know, to elevate the vibration of the planet back into the fifth dimensional energy. Now new Earth is here. We can all feel it. It's here. Why do you think we're having tsunamis and earthquakes? Gaia is going. Gaia's like, she's been shifting into the fifth dimensional energy for a long time. So we're having all these massive things. It's not about climate change. I mean, it's affected, but all of that, even that, right? It's hard for us to think like, why are mass murderers, you know, planted seeds in our awareness? Why are, you know, babies being, you know, decapitated? It's like, what? Like such a shocking, like, oh my God. Yeah, but it's like, but why is it there? Why do we have triggers? Why do we have shock factors? I'm going to ring the bell, so watch your ears. Right? Why do we have this darkness? Why do we need to go back into the light? Why do we want to smudge and clear the air and the energy? Here comes my big one. Because of our connection. You know, Alana has been with us for a while now. Alana, Dilkin, Naz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing them correctly, but they are new here today, and they're from Iraq. Alana is from the UK, just like Anna from the Midlands. And, you know, it's like, why are we all connected right now? Because it doesn't matter where we come from, how old we are, the color of our skin, who we love, who we have sex with, who we, you know what I mean? Like, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that we are living our best life and that we are happy, right? Do no harm. That is the witch's oath. First, do no harm. First, do no harm. You know, if I'm saying something, is it meaningful? Is it positive? Is it impactful? In my meditation before this, I asked Spirit to make sure that my chakras were balanced and cleared in my auric field and all that good stuff. And I send healing energy to all of us, because That is real. We are speaking the new world into being. We've been speaking it into being. Why do you think the sitting American president makes jokes about us being woke? Because he knows it. And there's no way to fucking change it. There's no way to change it. But I said recently, what if like people like the, Putin and Trump, like what if these people, and I can name all these other leaders, right? What if these villains that were planted, what if you look at them as that they are just as important in this story as we are? Because we don't really know who we are and what we're made of until our back is up against the wall. Because the truth is, Alana, you might have second, like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Why am I attracted to this house? I love this house. Should I get this house? Should I make a bed in it? Should I do blah, blah, blah? It's like, but when you get really still and you get really quiet and the thoughts aren't rushing and you're alone, especially in nature, connecting to Gaia, deep in the woods, preferably, where nobody is treading, that's when they come, those answers. If you're looking for a reading and you're looking, it's like, oh, we had someone on here recently where they were like, oh, I read for myself all the time. And I said, how many times a week do you read for yourself? And I think they said 3. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, because reading for yourself, you have to remember, it's okay if sometimes you're like, I need an answer. I use my pendulum every day, all day long. I'm not saying it's don't use your your healing tools and your gifts and align them, but that's why I use my pendulum, and I can feel when I'm trying to sway the vote. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's easy if you're reading for yourself, it's energy, so you can read into anything. You can get the Tower card when you're asking that question and you're like, oh, that's what they're telling me. Everything in this world's going to break. Yeah, because I'm going to get that house. It's like, or are they saying, you better be mindful. You don't want to go after that house because, that's going to bring everything down. Like, then this is going to happen. That's going to happen. In recent, I think I might have shared this with you guys like 6 months ago, or I don't know how long ago it was. But my landlord owns many properties and we've become quite friends and good friends. And he said, or out of nowhere, I just said, hey, I get this vibe, you need to release some of your properties. And he's like, oh, really? Why? And I was like, I don't know. I just get this vibe that I'm like hearing cut it in half or like go down to like 1 or 2, or I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, and I think he has 5 properties. And he said, I don't know why either. And I said, I don't know. And then like, a few months ago, he messaged me, and one of his workers, who's also his like dearest friend, who like takes care of his properties, like does a lot of the yard work, or like, he just does, he's like a jack of all trades kind of guy that he helps him, work or whatever. He started going into dementia and he had to move home with his sister so she could take care of him. And I said, that's why, because this guy was like, helping him take care of all these things. He was like literally his right-hand man. Like it's like the work was like, he helped him with half the work, And so now I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I wonder if that's why they told you to get rid of some of your properties, because Spirit could see, right? He couldn't see that. And Spirit was just like, just trust us. You need to do this. And now when I asked him just recently, something else had happened. He lost one of his best friends. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like, you're having a rough year. And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, I'm like, I mean, it could be that Spirit's like trying to get him. He's a really powerful light worker. And I was like, maybe Spirit's like trying to get you to, this is what you're really supposed to do. This isn't what you're supposed to do. So it could be that you're drawn to that house for multiple reasons, but only you know exactly, why. Oh my gosh, you guys. Holy crap, you guys just said a bunch of stuff. Okay, I'm going to see what's going on. Okay, where did we stop? Okay, so Nas came back. Luna, okay. Oh, don't say that. That must have been when we were talking about suicide. You guys are just saying hi to each other. You guys are just sending love to each other. Yay! You guys are just loving on each other. And you guys saw that. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. This one says message retracted. That's okay. Sometimes if you swear, they like give me a thing if I want to look at it. You can swear. It's okay. Yes. Anna says Mother Nature will help you a lot. I always go to the, Anna and Alana. Alana says, I always go to the woods. I feel so calm there. Of course you do, because it's part of your, it's part of who you are. Dilkin says the same thing. Me too. Guided, it helps me a lot. Me too. I love trees. Anna, tell them your problems. They do listen. So you guys are just talking to each other and sending some love. That's beautiful. I love that. Thanks, you guys. I love that you guys support each other. It's so beautiful. I love this tribe. You know, we've been building this organically for a long time. And you know, when we started this, when we had that young person who was like cringe and like whatever, it's like those are the things that you realize that, you know, you can either bring that into the matrix, you know, or you can bring this loving support for each other. You guys don't even know each other. You're in different countries and you love each other and send each other support, because that's what humanity's all about. And that's what we're here to remind each other of. That's what we're here to remember. And I'm going to keep doing that. So we will keep building this, you know, naturally, you know, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. The sharing makes a big difference too, because especially on my Lula's Labyrinth, Lula's Labyrinth, a lot of the times the things that get shared are like when I put up like words, you know, like something really insightful with like cool music or like a little story or something. And I'll see like 8 shares or 12 shares. Cause I know Anna's shares all the time. Like she's always been one of my greatest supporters in that way. But it's really cool when I see that 8 people share something or 12 people share something, especially the shorts, because they're a lot of times they're short and sweet and to the point, right? And a lot of times that in this world, people don't have the bandwidth. You know, they said that nowadays people are lucky to have more than a 15-second attention span, and that's so fucking scary. That's so scary. Alana, I don't know how old Alana is. Anna and I are both 53. Alana, it's hard to tell. I mean, you look really young to me. But, you know, it's, and you know, when I was growing up, I used to be able to tell, but now it's like people look so good. When I tell people I'm 53, especially if I'm like, you know, made up and everything, nobody believes me. Oh, yeah, that's right. I should have remembered that. Guided by Light. She's 33. Yeah, your age did come into it. That's right. What about you, Naz? I keep wanting to call you Naz. I don't know why. But interesting that we're 53 and you're 33, Alana. Like we're 20 years older than you. Anna, if you guys want to share your birthdays, I love that. I love when people share their birthdays. You're 20. I felt that when you first came on. But you know what? That doesn't surprise me either, because I work with autistic children that are like 8 years old that are more mature than 80-year-olds I work with. And that's the fucking truth. That is the honest to God truth. That's why I say like age really is a number, you know. I felt that you were youthful, but I can feel your old soul at the same time. And then when you put NP for no problem, I was like, that's a very young person. But, you know, I've had a lot of my tribe members or family, they're my soul family, that have been walking with me for years. Some of them, Zoe started walking with me as her teacher, you know, her shaman, whatever. She started walking with me when she was 19. And now, gosh, did she turn 27 last year? I think I've known her a really long time. So, you know, so it just depends. And that makes me happy when I see the young people. That makes me so happy, because you guys are on different, you know, in a different wavelength of the social media. You bring a different demographic, and that does help with the algorithms to bring more people your age here, because you are the future. You are our present and you are our future, and we need you. We need you now more than ever. So, you know, one of our other tribe members, Bailey, when I was working at Psychic Sister, she was working, it was in a really cool vintage store that also the owner was a medium as well. So she sold metaphysical materials and spiritual healing tools and jewelry by local artists, but it was also a vintage store. So Bailey was working there. She has like more style in her pinky than most of the planet. She is amazing. Like she is Lady Gaga. I know Lady Gaga is like one of her inspirations, but she was her before she even like kind of became her. And she was really young too. I think she said she was 21 or 22 when I first met her. And now she just turned 30. Gosh, I don't know anymore. All the years are running together and everything's going so fast. 31 or 32? Anna, I feel I am a child at heart and a soul that is ancient. Yes, me too. Yeah, and also like, because, I mean, Alder and I, we love farts. Farts are funny and they're silly, especially like, you know, I mean, they always say if your farts are really smelly, that your body's telling you like something's wrong with your diet. So it's not like we're ripping off like super smelly ones, or if one of us gets a smelly one, we're like, oh, what did we eat? Or we ate that combo or something. I have to open the windows. All of a sudden, it got really hot in here. Um, Probably because I lit that other candle for my mama. And but it's interesting. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because as light workers and mediums, like, we take the ascension very seriously. But on the other hand, it's like, we also understand that time is fleeting and humanity is short. And, we're kind of in the Benjamin Buttons of it, like if you've never seen that movie. I actually tried to watch it again, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this movie. I think I didn't really like it the first time. And then when I look at it and I was like, do you want me to watch it? But I have been feeling the energy around it, meaning like, I do kind of feel like it's like the third dimensional reality is what people think is reality, but it's not really reality. We're actually going back to like, growing our own food, eating, taking from the earth and giving back to the earth. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's a very interesting thing. The technology is beautiful, but at the same time, we're realizing there's something so magnificent and magical about, doing things for ourselves. It's nice that you can just go and, just go and get takeout. That's a luxury. It's nice that you can just turn on your faucet and get running water. But for those of you who are new here and don't know this about me, I live mostly off grid. I have to go get my water and bring it to my home. And I live in America. I'm not living high off the hog. I walk the old way. And a lot of times when a lot of money, when people, donate or give gifts or whatever, when money comes my way or Alder works a really big job, we usually just put that money right back into, we've been remodeling our tiny home for, a few years now. And it's like all the money, it's like I just invest it back into myself and back into the tribe. I'm not going and buying a new car or, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, not that I'm getting that much, but you know what I'm saying? It's like we're getting more conscious about where we're putting our money, where we're putting our thoughts, where we're putting our words. What are we saying? What are we thinking? And realizing the power that it has. And that, yes, we're all energy, but it's like the words and the thoughts are a form of energy and it's a form of currency. I've said forever, prayer is free. So when we are giving and taking from the world, we have to remember that the more we give, the more we get back. If you're holding too tight to your money, or if you're holding too tightly to the past, then your future isn't going to happen. And you may be stuck in the same hamster wheel. But also for some of us, we're in the patience. We're meant to be in the patience of it. You're in the waiting room. Some of us are in the spiritual waiting room. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 10 years. Like I said, the more I talk about my experiences, like bringing up that Chateau Marmont story, I almost forgot about that, right? And it's like, you realize like you've always been this, right? You've always known you were this. You've always felt this, but people said this, or people said you should be this, or your parents are like, and even that, they're just looking out for you, right? They want you to have a successful life. They want you to, and look at history. This year we hate Iraq. This year we hate America. This year we hate France. This year we hate fucking China. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, why are we hating on each other? Like, why are we pinning against each other? Well, yeah, if you look at the landmass of planet Earth, it was all connected at one point. So we're all the same country. We're all the same. And the only reason why some of us, our skin has, more melatonin, you know what I mean? It's like, or melanin, whatever. I'm not a scientist, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's like our skin only looks different because of where we live. If you live in, like for myself, if I grew up here in the Pacific Northwest, where it rains a lot most of the year, right? It's like we only have a small window where I can go outside and get tan. And if there weren't tanning beds, I probably would be pretty pasty and white, right? But if you're living in, a rock, it's like, hello, where it's like, people think it's just all desert. It's like, it's not. They do have trees there. They do have water there. How do you think they survive? You know what I mean? Like, clearly. But at the same time, when you're in place, it's like, why do you think they invented a camel? So that a camel can carry its water and its supply and take care of its human. You know what I mean? Like all these, it's like every single solitary thing has a purpose. Everything, to that mosquito, to that gnat. It's like, I remember when I got kicked out of Sunday school when I was 8, when she was telling the story of Noah's Ark, and I just was like rolling my eyes. It was weird. Even as a child, I just knew. You know, I was like, this is bullshit. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, so there were two gnats, two ladybugs. And then I remember saying, I was like, well, I don't understand something. I'm like, if Adam and Eve were the only humans, I'm like, and then she had sons, how did their sons have children? They're like, right? I'm like, it's like I would give them so much. Yeah, Iraq is beautiful. Iraq is beautiful. Thank you for saying that, because it's true. It's like, I mean, I've seen movies, I've seen pictures, I've never been, but it's a really beautiful country. I mean, the whole planet is beautiful. There's just different parts and different segments that maybe you wouldn't want to live there, you know? Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I mean, I grew up in the south side of Chicago. I mean, I never in a million years thought I would live in these mountains. When we were at Hurricane Ridge on Tuesday, at the Lionsgate portal closing, I was like crying when I was up there. I was like, I kept singing, climb every mountain, right from the Sound of Music, because I was just like, this, I live here. I get to live here. This is not even an hour from my house. This is like 25, 30 minutes from my house. I get to live here. This is a blessing, you know? You said, yeah, I mean, I don't know why they're hating, because sometimes not beautiful and doesn't have water or food. Yeah, well, that's what I'm just saying. Like, I'm telling you, in my 50 plus years of like the discrimination and the weird thought processes that I've seen, you know, and heard, and where I'm just like, what are you talking about? You know, it's like, but that's part of the control too. That's part of the, you know, you don't want to be like them. You don't want to, I mean, when I was growing up, I wasn't drawn to, you know, I'm blonde, blue-eyed, you know, white girl. Like, I wasn't drawn to boys like me. I was drawn to the exotic guys. I wanted like the cool, you know, guys who had an accent or guys who I'd never seen before. I mean, I went through a stage where I was really proud of myself, that I was like sleeping with like all these different backgrounds. I was like, I just owned my sexuality. I was like, you know, if I'm not in a relationship and I want to have sex, I'm like, why is it okay for a man to do that? But if a woman does it, she's a whore. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, if I want to get laid, I'm going to go get laid. End of story. So, I did. I went through, you know, where I was like, you know, I met this guy. He was like so into me. And I remember saying to my guy, and I didn't mean it the way it sounds, but I was like, oh my God, dude. I'm like, he's arrived or something. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'd been searching for, I'd always wanted to have sex with an Asian man. I don't know why, but I was like, I have to have sex with, I don't know. I just have to do it. And I ended up being in a relationship with him, actually. And he was a cop, and he was a really awesome, cool guy. But I remember telling him that one day, and he started laughing so hard because he was Asian American. You know, his father was Chinese and his mom was Korean, I believe. And and he's like, that's so weird. He goes, I go, is that like a form of racism? And he goes, I mean, I guess. He's like, I don't know. He's like, and I go, I think I was more curious about it because, you know, when I was growing up, it was like everybody was circumcised. If you weren't circumcised, that wasn't natural. That wasn't natural where I grew up. Then come to find out that it was like the opposite. Like, most men weren't circumcised. You know what I mean? And it was just like this whole thing. It became this whole, you know, but those are the kind of things that I'm glad I like went down that road and like wanted to experience that and see that. Because you know what I realized? They were all wonderful men. They were all wonderful boys. You know what I mean? Like, cause some of them was when I was younger. You know what I mean? It's like we're just all people. I mean, oh, Alana says, when I was younger, I would get bullied for being mixed race. I never understood why people could be so cruel and judge people or places by their nationality. Yeah, I mean, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. I know, that's what I was saying earlier. My first husband, you know, I mean, talk about, you know, his mom was born in one country, his dad was born in another country, they met in college in another country, and then had him in that country. Then his father, like, you know, for his business, like, lived in like 12 different countries on 3 different continents. And, you know, I mean, honestly, I can tell you, this is the Americanized, bastardized version of this very, you know, maybe I'm giving you guys some insight too. And like, this is what we're trying to squash on the planet. That's why the sitting American president, where I'm just like, gross. No, he's trying to do what these other countries have done by having like a king or like this leader that makes the decisions instead of the people. And it's like, no, the people need to make the choice for each other. Literally, the Constitution of the United States starts with we, the people of the United States. And now he wants to come in and change it all. And he's like, well, you know what? Because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? No, sorry. And even if it did come in, the guys, it's like a Trojan horse, because a lot of people have said, that the British did that from the beginning. They wanted to take over this land, but they put it in the guise of like, oh, it's going to be a free country. You can believe in whoever you want. You can fuck who you want. You can love who you want. That's what they said. But some people think that America is fully funded by the British. There are a lot of, if you like research your history and look at history, there's a lot of things that have been happening. So now we're just holding him accountable. We're like, it says it right here. And now he wants to change the Constitution. He wants to omit things. It's like, you don't get to come in and say, oh, now you're going to be the person who's going to decide how this is going to go. That's what I'm saying. It's like the whole world is like that right now. It's happening everywhere. It's the same with Russia. It's like these people, they are their own sovereign nation. Like they want to be their own country. They don't want to be a part of you. Like you don't have enough people to dictate and rule over. What the fuck? It's like, who has the most toys wins, right? Who has the most money wins. Who has the most power and control wins. Well, you know what? Spirit has the most power and control. So where do you think that karma is going to lie for them? If we're all, look at it this way. I don't know about you guys, but John Lennon's been speaking to me. Instant karma is going to get you. Anything that isn't right for me, I feel it. I've been feeling it. Like something will show up. Or I was trying to do something the other day. I was like, I really shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. And man, it was like, I didn't listen. All this shit fell. I was really like, damn it. And then I'm like, who do I have to be upset about? I mean, myself. My higher self was telling me not to do that, but my old third dimensional thinking still thinks they know better, and bam, it got ruined. And why did it get ruined? Because instant karma is going to get you. And it's for everybody. So trust me when I tell you, everybody's playing their part right now, even the villains, but they'll get theirs too. And who knows, why, what, you know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe they were a serial killer in another life, and this life, they're like, oh, look at me. I'm the king. I'm going to keep doing whatever I want. I'm going to rip out the Kennedy Rose Garden. I mean, all the things he's been doing, it's like, these are things that we have a House of Congress. Like, there's a reason why. I worked in politics, you guys know, for a long time. And, when you work closely with senators and congressmen, you start to understand. And it's not just that, it's assembly members. I mean, it's like the pyramid, right? And it starts with the president. But when I was working in politics, I used to say to people, you think the president has that much power? I'm like, they can't take a shit without fucking talking to Congress. I'm like, don't you understand? I'm like, that's the way it's always been. Why do you think they're always vying for control of Democrats and Republicans? It's been this way since the beginning. The Republic were the people of the Republic, but they switched sides and made it, and it went to the dark side, Yay! Well, if you come back and we're not here, we'll see you next time. I think I'm getting ready to wrap it up, actually. I'm not feeling like we're meant to like go much longer. So, but thank you for coming back, and thank you for being here. Thank you guys for everything. I'm so grateful when you guys show up. I really am grateful. But you see what I'm saying, so we're just seeing like the patriarchy falling apart in all different forms, and how the divine feminine is coming back, in a different way. Like everything, it's like we're coming, we're going, we're coming, we're going, we're coming, we're going. And it's going to be like this for a minute, but you can just feel that the energy, the fifth dimensional energy, you can just feel that it's still omnipresent, and that it will continue to be very present, because we need the divine feminine. Oh, bye, Alana. Thank you for coming by. I hope we helped you. Did you have any more? Actually, you know what? Do you have any more questions about the house or your dad or anything else before we get going? Does anybody have any questions or messages from Spirit? Because if nobody else has anything else to say, or if you don't want me to pull cards or anything, I'm going to probably get going too. I'm so glad you guys were all here today. I love you so much. If you can pick up anything for me, that would be great. Okay, let's see. Your dad says to slow down. You're trying to run away from your feelings. Cry. You see something? Cry. You starting to well up? Cry. He just died. And especially as mediums, you know, people think, oh, it must be easier for you. Dude, my mom, it's a year ago today that my mom died. Tomorrow is like her anniversary of the number of her death, but she died a year ago. It was on a Sunday she left us. So, you know, I know what it feels like. You said, oh my gosh, yes, I've been holding on to my emotions. He's like, no, set them free, set them free, set them free, set them free. Because also, you guys, when we hold in our emotions like that, it's actually can make us very sick and toxic. I was watching Selma Blair on a TED Talk, and man, I just want to get a hold of some of these people so bad that have like MS or ALS or all these, because they don't realize how much power they actually do have to heal themselves. They have so much power. They have so much power than they're given themselves. So, yeah, didn't it? Anna just said a year passed quickly. I know, right? Like, it's so crazy to think that last night I was like, wow, a year ago you were still alive right now, Mom. I'm like, I had one more chance to say goodbye to you. And I was like going through this weird thing. And same with Bubba. I've been going through these things with Bubba because she's been showing me things where I'm like, because towards the end of her death, I was really mean to Bubba. I really was. I didn't mean to be, but I just, like, there was this one time she was trying to walk, and because it happened so fast. And I was like, dude, you were just walking yesterday. And then all of a sudden she like fell. And you guys, I may have shown you before in some of my videos, but in our RV, we actually have steps that go down into. And Bubba, I had Bubba under the altar at like the highest point. And when I was sleeping, I actually woke up and she was hanging. She was hanging off the side of the thing. And she was stuck between like the bed and the floor. And she was like, ow, and she couldn't really talk much anymore. And I was like, oh, Baba. I'm like, get up. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, how long have you been like that? Until I realized she really couldn't get up. And I was like, Baba, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So I helped her, and it was just like, oh, I'm starting to cry. Because they're saying, let the emotions flow, right? Like, because I didn't want to see it. I was like, get up, you know, I'm like, get up. And I felt like my third dimensional tough love was like, fucking get up, like, you fucking warrior cat, like, get up, like, you're not dying, like, get the fuck up. I'm like, you're fine. And so I let her hang there for a while until I was like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. And then she was just like, meow. Like, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm a monster. I'm like, I'm such a monster. And I did that to her twice. One time she was trying to pee on my bed, and I went to like push her, and I smacked her, and she hit this really hard piece of furniture. And then she hit this wood, and I like hurt her bones, and I felt so much guilt, and I still do. And I'm like, Bubba, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm so fucking sorry. And she's like, it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay, you know? Like, it's not okay. And fucking, I knew. But I was angry at her for dying on me because my mom had just died months before. And I was just like, thanks for the hugs. I feel them. And, you know, and I felt my mom the whole week before she died. And I knew she was going, and I knew it. I felt it. And I ask Spirit every day, should I call her today? No. Should I call her today? No. Should I text her? No. Thanks for the hugs, you guys. I love you so much. Right? But it fucking hurts when we lose our parents. We are fucking powerful light workers, but we are still flesh and blood here. We chose to be earth angels and these human avatars so that we can be the example. But it doesn't lessen the blow. It doesn't lessen the pain. It doesn't lessen their presence. I feel my mom right here, but I can't hug her, you know? I can hug my stuffed animal, Sherwood. He's my emotional stuffy. I love you, Bubba. But you guys know, like, you know, I just... So let your tears flow. My throat chakra is so tight. Let it flow, you guys. I know I'm flowing, so this is a message to you, like, you have to let it out. That's how we heal. That's how we move forward. If you're trapped in a pattern, it's most likely because you haven't expelled those emotions. You haven't let them out. You haven't let them go. Bubba was like, you know, I mean, I could tell you a gazillion other things I did to Bubba while she was alive. that were horrible. And she's like, I don't see you crying about that. You know, and I was like, yeah, I guess I see what she's saying, right? She's like, no, it's just like, because that's where you are, right? Excuse me, sorry, I got caught up in my cry. Right now, you know, it's easy for me a year later to look at everything, you know, but when you're in it and you're in the moment, denial is very serious, and it's a true feeling and energy. I wanted to believe my mom was going to make it because my mom's birthday was in October, and my grandmother went into remission twice, and I was like, I just had this, I was like, my mom's going to make it to her birthday. I just kept telling myself that, because she would have been 76. And that's a number, it's 13, I love my 13 combos. 49, 94, 58, 85, 76, 67. These witchy numbers, 13, 31. But when we look at everything as a whole, and we take our emotions out of it, we can see why those things happened, why those situations were put in our, like, we can see it. But when we're in it, when we're in the thick of it, when we're in the tornado, we can't. When you're not in the eye of the storm and you're in the storm, you can't make the best choices, And for those of you who drink when you're upset, please don't. Because all it does is it makes you more depressed. Now listen, if you need a good cry, drink yourself some wine or whatever you like, put on, fried green tomatoes or steel magnolias or something like that, or some movie that really touches your heart, and, where the water works, I was talking about this earlier this week, I think, or last week. We were talking about the movie Scrooged with Bill Murray, when they've got, all the different angels from past, present, and future. And he's got the taxi driver guy, and he's showing him something from when he was a little boy, and he's like, oh, I don't cry, I'm not emotional, Bill Murray. And he's like, yeah, everybody says that. He's like, until something, he's like, let's see what happens. And then they show him where, he's like, hey, daddy, can I get this present for Christmas? And he's like, here, blah, blah, blah. And like, the dad's really mean to him and stuff. And like, and he's like, look at that little boy. It's like, your dad crushed your soul every time. That's why you became like this. You weren't like this, you and your boss, like his boss who's like a hard nose or whatever. So when the little boy starts to get upset, he starts crying, and the angel looks at him and he goes, just like I said, Niagara Falls, right? Because he's like, because when it comes to inner child trauma or losing our parent, it's like, honestly, I mean, if someone asked me outright, was it harder to lose your mom or Bubba? It's no contest. It was Bubba. But that doesn't negate the fact that I loved my mom. And but the reason it was different with Bubba is because, she wasn't my mom. She was a crone. She was an elder. She was my grandmother. She was my mom. She was my sister. She was my friend. She was my mentor. I mean, she was my cat. It's like, she was so many things. And those who knew Baba know, like, I mean, you guys just got to see a glimpse of her, but imagine living with her 24/7, 13 years, that presence leaves you. You don't, Baba, like, said it to me straight. Baba the Great, man, she rides on. That's why she wanted me to bring her channel back, because she was like, I will forever be with you. I will forever, and even my mom, I have some things that I've been putting together for my mom, and some things that I'm going to post tomorrow that I'm sure will be kind of jarring for some people, because it was pretty intense. And, but like, I wrote this poem about my mom, and I'm going to post it on Lula's Labyrinth tomorrow, or today, I don't know when, but I made it with one of my latest excursions going out into the wild. And, it's because it's a different type of pain, but it's also, even if you had the best mother in the world, you don't tell your parents everything. You don't, like, Baba was everything. Well, look at that. Alana just said, my worst fear was losing my dad. Now you don't have any fear anymore. And if you can, take fear-based words out and say concern, because that helped me a lot. Once I took, like, feelings of hate or anger, or like, and it's taken me a long time to get here, trust me. I mean, I was born and raised in a very critical family, very mean. Very loving, very loving. That's why my family was such a fucking weird dichotomy, because my family was so giving, so loving, so kind. And then they were the polar opposites, so mean, so hurtful, so vindictive. And so it was very confusing growing up. Anna, bless mama. I'll light her a candle tonight and a prayer for Alana's dad. Thank you. Yeah, it's like we understand. And it's, losing my dad first was tough. But losing my mom was harder because I was closer to my mom in so many ways. But what was really interesting was my dad died in 2014 and my mom died in 2024, and my dad died May 28th and my mom died August 18th. So within like 10 years of each other. So like I had 10 years to get used to losing one parent. And I can only imagine, Alana, how gut-wrenching it must be to lose the parent that you're the closest to and the one that you love. And you know what I mean? So remember that, you remember that song, Only the Good Die Young, right? Because it's true. I mean, a lot of times the good die young because they're the ones that give and give and give and give and give and give and give, and they just don't have anything left. Their tank is empty. They just can't do it anymore. That's part of it, but then also the other part of it is that, that how they talk about how some people are placed in your life for a minute and some for a lifetime. And, I feel like your dad suffered. Was your dad suffering? I don't remember how he passed now. He's not showing me. I feel like I'll go, oh yeah. But I kind of either he went quickly, but he was internally suffering, meaning like he wasn't happy, or he was sick. You said, yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was sick, or he passed quickly? Because I feel like he passed quickly, but I feel like he was sick. So he was either like had sickness, cancer, or something like that, or he was like internally really sad, or like causing sickness. They say all the time, and you see it where couples that have been together for like 50, 60 years die within, days of each other or hours of each other because they can't imagine their life without that person. It's like, that's intense. I mean, that just goes to show you how much power we have over my mom. Let's put it this way. My mom was meant to be, they always have the antagonist and the protagonist in the story. My mom and I were meant to be those for each other, because even though she loved me, she'd say things like, well, I'm your mama, so I'm always going to love you, and blah, 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 blah. But like, I know she didn't like what I was doing, and she didn't like, blah, blah, blah. He was in a lot of pain. He was sick, blocked arteries, and passed very quickly. Went into hospital, and 2 days later. That's right. I remember. Yeah. So he was not, his avatar was only meant to go as far as it was meant to go. And, I saw something recently where it was this young woman, and she was pretty young. She was younger than you, Alana. And she was really upset because her mom left so quickly. And I thought, I'm so glad, like, I'm so lucky I had my mom. And my mom is lucky that we're both blessed, because even though I stopped talking to my mom, and it was like she was so upset and so like she couldn't understand, and leaving me messages on my voicemail crying and like, why have you stopped talking to me? I don't understand. It was interesting because the last conversation I had with my mom was on the phone when she called to tell me that my stepdad died. And he died on January 18th. And my mom died on August 18th, not the same year, but a few years later. But I told my mom on the phone, like, I know she knew I was telling her goodbye, but she didn't want to accept it. She didn't want to accept it. She didn't want to hear it. Like me earlier with Bubba. Because when we love somebody so much, we can't accept that they're like, my mom couldn't wrap her mind around why she couldn't still have access to me if we're both alive. And I'm like, because you are a narcissist, and is loving and kind and giving and generous and wonderful as my mom was, because she was. she was also extremely selfish, and it was all about her and like what she needed and what she wanted. And she was a witch just like me, and she used her powers of persuasion to get what she wanted when she wanted it. Things always showed up for her, and she'd be like, oh, I prayed for that, God gave it to me. I'm like, yes, but you also kind of made that happen, or you guilted this person into doing this for you, or you know what I mean? Manipulation is not the same as an answer to a prayer. So, you know, my mom thought that we can still continue having a relationship, yet I wasn't allowed to talk about anything I am or what I do. So I said, so what do you want to do? You just want to talk about the weather? I'm like, because I don't know what you want. She's like, well, we can talk about the family. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to hear about. I'm like, don't you get it? It's like I couldn't get it through her mind. Like, they all live in the third dimensional reality. I live here. They think I'm crazy. I'm not. Like, I'm like, what? How many times do I have to explain? Like, this is who and what I am. This is what I've always been. It's not a phase. Oh, it's a phase. No, it's not. I mean, Mom, I was like, come on, you know? So sometimes we have to do things, you know, and it could be that, like, you know, your mom might be your Everest. It was awful watching his body close down one by one, but I stayed strong and stood by his side until the end. Oh, I really wanted to just run away though, as it was painful to watch. Yeah. But also, you know, and I'm not comparing my cat to your father, so I hope you understand that, even though I know they both harbor significance, and you know, I know that you know that I know that you know, but still, I just want to point that out, because some people are like, oh, animals are human. I'm like, I just not got done saying that I mourned my cat more than my mom. But what I'm saying is that I wasn't meant to be there by my mom's bedside while she died. That's for my family. You know what I mean? Like, that was for my family, her church people, her extended family, her siblings. You know what I mean? I don't know who was with her. Someday I'm sure I'll find out. My mom doesn't want me to see any of that. Every time I've tried to go in there, it's like a locked fucking door. I can't get in. So that's okay. But my mom didn't want me to remember her that way. Yet I had to be here with Baba, watching the life slip out of her, watching my warrior cat, Maine Coon, who I thought was invincible. I had to watch the life leave her body. I mean, literally, when she took her last breath, she was reaching for Alder, my partner, like, and then she was gone. But watching her, I mean, I had to watch her go, breathing like that for like weeks. You guys could see it in the videos. I mean, Baba, I took video of Baba her last day, because I didn't know it was, even though I knew it was her last day, it was like, you know, watching someone, you know, however you know, whatever it is for you, anything, watching something die in front of you, whether it's fast and quick or slow and painful, it is extremely difficult. And, you know, when I was working with one of my shamans, she also worked as a death doula. And she said, I feel like that's going to be part of your path at some point. So when Alder and I were here together with her while she was dying, I always kind of pictured Alder and I together. If I was a death doula, I always kind of pictured him on one side and me on the other, because we're so like yin and yang. And, you know, he was born on a Sunday, I'm born on a moon day, you know what I mean? Just like everything, triple Gemini, triple Sag, like, I mean, we're just like yin and yang. And so I felt like, you know, he holds the shadow and I hold the light. And I realized in that moment, I'm almost positive that's part of my job. So Alana, that might be part of your path too. You, in some point in your journey, you may be a death doula. And, you know, a lot of times people call on death doulas because they don't want their family to remember them that way, but they don't want to die alone. You know, you've seen it in movies where they're like, you know, take the kid out of here. You know, I don't want them here. They need to go, you know. I just watched Independence Day again because it was free on Independence Day. So I was like, oh, I got to do it. And, you know, that one scene where, you know, the first lady is dying and the little girl comes in and she's like, she's looking at her husband and she's just like, you know, you got to get her out of here. She starts crying. She's like, I can't, you know. Some people just can't do it, and some people can. And as wild as this may be to some people, it's actually a great honor if someone chooses to leave this life with you like that. So, you know, the craziest part about Baba was that for the last hour or so of her life, I was like, I barely, even though I knew she was like, her eyes were twitching, her body, like everything, like she was going. at one point, Alder's like, I don't even think she's here. He's like, I think she's gone, but her body's still here. And then it was like about an hour before she died, and I got like down on the bed with her, and I locked eyes, and I started singing to her. And I said, Baba, if you're still there, look at me. And like, if this is just your body shutting down, but you're here in the room with us, because we felt that she was here, you know. I said, but if you're out of the body, I'll know. I said, but if you're still in there and you want me to keep petting you and holding your hand, and I'm like, just look at me. And it's like it took every energy, because her eyes were like not well, and she looked right into my eyes. And I was like, you fucking warrior. I'm like, I could see how much pain she was in. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, holy shit, you know? And then she told me in that moment, like, this was part of her karma or something. And you guys know Baba can be really mean and really bratty. And a lot of times she was like, when I was mean to her, she's like, I deserved it, please. I deserved it, you know? Let's get a little. But when she looked in my eyes like that, holy shit, I was like, she's there. And then the craziest thing was, I got up because it looked like she was shaking because she was cold. And I was like, this could go on for hours. I'm like, do you want me to put a blanket on you? And she was like, no, I don't want a blanket. And then I got up and I went to move the radiator heater closer to her. And as I got up to do that, she died. And she locked eyes with Alder, not me. It's like she didn't want me. It's like, and I was jealous. I was mad. I was really mad at first, even though Alder's been in her life, you know, at that point for like, you know, I don't know how many years, 9 years. I still was like, she's my baby. She's my cat. She's my familiar, you know. But over the years, Baba really became our familiar. She wasn't just mine anymore. She was our guardian. She was our person, you know. So Alder wasn't really here. We were separated, and he wasn't here for a lot of it. You know, I was going through the changing her pee pads every hour, and you know what I mean? Like that person who's with that person in hospice, feeding them and holding them and bathing them. And it's like, I did all that for her, and I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. Except for when I said I was being mean. But other than that, like, I mean, I felt like Sally Field when she was like, you know, I was here when that beautiful creature drifted into my life in Still Magnolias. And she's like, and I was here when she drifted out. And it was just like, she gave Alder that last minute, not even, it was like seconds. She gave him like the last few seconds. And then I laid there and I'm like, there's no way she's gone. There's no way she's gone, you know? And then I realized she was gone. And I felt her more in her body after she died. Then it was like she gave me that gift of holding her, because she was still warm. She still felt like she was alive. And it sounds crazy and some people will never believe me, but I am telling you, it was like she was Baba. Because, you know, leading up to it, she was all matted and like, you know, she had food stuck to her and like she could barely eat and like urine and poop and you know what I mean? Like it wasn't pretty. But all of a sudden it was like I gave her a like a little bath, you know, in the morning, like a little sponge bath, and it's like she got to leave with grace, and it was almost like she gained weight after she died. You know what I mean? I know. It's like it was just so weird. I can't explain it. It was like I felt the weight of her and it felt like she was still there in my lap. It was so weird. So we don't always know why they do things or why, you know. Hold on, I'm getting a tissue. And thank you for holding space, you guys. Thank you for all of us holding space for each other right now while we're all going through different forms of death and loss. It's never easy. So be grateful for those moments that they give us. Alana said, before my dad passed, he said, I see the vision clearly. And at that point, I knew it was nearly the end. Oh, girl, my heart goes to you. And thank you for saying that about Baba. My dad looked me And the eyes too, it was beautiful in a way as his eyes were sparkling like glass. Yes, that's what Baba's were too. It was like I could see the life like going out. Like, you know what I mean? Like I saw the avatar, like I saw the soul leaving the avatar. And I think there's something really profound about that. And that's why they're saying, like, your dad is 100 million times more powerful now than when he was in that avatar. You know, he could do so much more for you on this journey because you're obviously not going to get guidance from your mother. You know what I mean? So it's like, um, but like that relationship with your dad, like he is your guardian angel. He is with you. And this is just the beginning for you. It really is. I feel like you're meant to do this. Anna, the eyes are the soul. They are. I know. I love Bubba too. I know she loves me. Like I can feel it. And thank you both for the blessings and the love. And thanks for lighting a candle for Bubba. Yeah, I just, I feel like every single solitary thing leads us to the moment that we're at. And if we can look at it with an open heart and an open mind, you know, cry when we need to cry. You know, I don't go into these things planning on crying, or I don't go into these, you know, episodes or whatever, like planning to share, you know, whatever. But it's also because the one thing with humanity is our commonality. It helps us to empathize with each other when we are going through something similar. We're never going to go through the same thing. I didn't have the same relationship with your dad. I didn't know your dad. You know what I mean? Like you didn't know Baba. You didn't have the same relationship, but it's like, but we still had a bond and a closeness, and we shared a death of somebody that we loved very, very deeply. That is just not anything you can, you know. And when my mom started to get sick and my family was urging me to reach out to her, was literally the same time Baba started getting sick. And I was literally, you guys know I try not to go on any fear-based energy, but I had this like warning Will Robinson energy. And it was a fear, I'm sure. But I had this fear that if I went to go visit my mom, because where I live and where my mom lives are so far apart, like you guys, it'd be like you guys trying to leave the UK to go visit somebody in Russia. You know what I mean? It's like, we're like, my mom was in Arkansas and I'm in the Pacific Northwest in Washington. We're thousands of miles away, and she lives in the Ozark Mountains and I live in the Olympic Mountains. Like I have to like either drive or take a ferry just to like get to the airport. Like I have to go across water to like get to the airport, or I have to drive like all along the peninsula, like all, you know what I mean, to get there. And then would have to take, it's like basically it would take me like minimum 2 plane rides, minimum, and a lot of driving. Like it would probably take me about 24 hours just to like with, you know, layovers and like everything, or however you do that. It would probably take me about 24 hours to see my mom. And because Baba was like declining rapidly, I had this fear that if I went to go see my mom, Baba was going to die. And I was really concerned that if Alder was like, oh, she's sick, you know, blah, 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 that I wouldn't make it to her on time. And I didn't want to live with that resentment from my mom, because as much as I love my mom, I felt like I gave my mom that. She may not have liked the way the ending was on her side of it, but I gave my mom years to try and make our relationship better. She chose, you know, as firmly as I believe in what I'm telling you all day today, my mom feels the same about her Bible and church and God and all that. So, you know, I wasn't going to sway her. She wasn't going to sway me, and never the twain shall meet. So I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? So I can either go spend, you know, go back and see my mom, see my family. They all hate me. I mean, they either really dislike me strongly or they literally hate me. So there's very few of them that actually like me. So I thought, well, I could either go there and spend that time. And I know that it's about my mom and not about me, but it really is about me though, isn't it? She's my mom, and it's just her experience and my experience. So I just kept asking Spirit every day. We had the money, I had the time, I had the means, I could have done it. And I was like, no, she's going to make it to October. Her birthday's October 13th. I'm December 13th. I'm like, we're witchies. I'm like, I know it. I'm like, something's going to, because I kept holding hope that my mom was going to have some epiphany or something was going to happen. Or, you know, I mean, when my mom came to visit me, there were times where she was here for like 3 weeks. We'd be out like, just like, you know, sightseeing or at the grocery store or something. And we'd start talking to somebody and something would come through. And I'd be like, I feel like I'm meant to tell you this or blah, blah, blah. My mom saw me use my pendulum. She saw me. And I was like, Mom, this is real. I'm like, I'm like, how do you think I knew that about those people? She's like, well, I never said you didn't have the gift. And I go, why do you think that this is some gift from the devil? You know, and she's like, well, you don't know those people. Maybe you're not supposed to tell them that. Maybe about, and she always played the devil's advocate, you know? And I was like, well, I could say the same about your God in your fucking book. You know, I go, so I'm going by my gut and you're going by your gut. So I'm like, what are we supposed to do here? So in the end, I had to make a choice. And I chose Baba. Looking back on it now, if I knew that my mom was going to die in August and Baba was going to die in January, I probably would have gone and saw my mom. Because I would have wanted to, you know, because I can rise above it, you know, and I could put our differences aside and I could just be there for her. And I don't give a shit if my family thinks I'm woo woo or whatever. But my mom like didn't even like crystals. Like when I would like stay with her, because I build an altar everywhere I go, I take my things with me. Like I didn't want to do that to my mom. You know, I didn't want to like impose that on her. That's not her belief system. It's not what she likes or what she wants. And it's her death. My mom said she always wanted to die peacefully in her sleep. That's exactly how she fucking died. And she died on a Sunday, which she called the Lord's Day. So like my mom had everything she could possibly, you know what I mean? Like in terms of like the only thing that was missing was me, but who's to say that I'm not in my mom's karmic soul contract for her next life to like, you know what I mean? It's like, who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's such a slippery slope. So we just have to go by our intuition and our gut. And in the end, I feel, even now looking back on it, I still think it was Kelly who wanted to go say goodbye to her mommy, you know, but it was Tallulah that is, no, this is who I really am, and knows that there is no death, you know. So I think we're going to leave it here unless anybody has any more questions. And thank you, Alana, for sharing your father and your story with us and sharing your time. Thank you, Anna and Jessica and Naz and anybody else who came on, even that youngster who came on and was like cringe, you know, like, thank you, because they catapulted and catalyzed a lot of this that we talked about today. So see, everything happens for a reason. You know, Naz was like, I don't understand why you don't block them. I'm like, because, you know, the only time I block people from my channel is if they're being repetitively ignorant or rude or attacking the tribe. Then I'm like, you know what, you need to go find your peace somewhere else. It ain't gonna happen here. You know what I mean? It ain't gonna happen. You're very welcome. Thank you for listening. Oh my gosh, no, it was like, we're all here together. We're all here together. I can't wait until, because I know we'll all meet in person. So I know I'm destined to go to Europe in the next few years. I feel like, I don't know if I'm meant to travel before the end of 2027 because we're going to be going through such a big change. But if I do, like, you know, I know one of the first places I'm going is Europe. The two places that I've been really, actually three, I do feel like I'm meant to get my passport and go to Canada. I know I live on the border and you're like, how come you don't go? I'm like, I haven't renewed my passport. And unfortunately, when Alder was younger, he has a felony on his record for robbery. He and his friends were stupid, but they were of age, so it's now permanently on his record. He went to jail for it. It was a short time and whatever, but so in the United States, you're not allowed to travel outside the United States if you do not, if you have a felony on your record, you do not get a passport. So that's unfortunate. And we can get it expunged, but it's really expensive because he was so young and he's never, you know what I mean? Like we could get it expunged, but it's just they make you pay a lot of money and go through a lot of red tape to deal with that. At least do a face call so we can connect face to face. Yes, absolutely. 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 It sounds good. I know I've been thinking about doing a Zoom thing again. You know, my friend Jules has been really busy. She's kind of my Zoom extraordinaire. She's really good at it. And she, Anna and I don't know, Anna, by the grace of the gods, we connected that one time because between the two of us, we were like not knowing how to figure it out, but we got it together and we Zoomed each other when we did that reading. Remember, Anna? That was the first time we met like face to face this way. But anyway, so I'm really being called to go to Canada, and that may be without him. And I'm being called to the UK, and I am really being called to Egypt. 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 So when I was younger, I was terrified of things with Egypt. So I know that I've got some past life stuff there, and I feel like I'm meant to do some soul retrieval there. I'm definitely meant to do some soul retrieval in the UK for sure, because I have ancestors. I have Irish, British, and Scottish ancestors. So I'm very interested, and French. So remember we were talking about this earlier when I was saying that my grandma said that we had French royalty in our lineage. When I was in Paris and at the Louvre, I mean, I'm like, I've been here before. I got the same fucking vibe when I was in Paris that I got when I was in LA, when I got to LA, and I'd never been there before, with the Chateau Marmont and seeing Marilyn's house, and same thing. So I know I'm meant to go there for some soul retrieval. Absolutely. I just don't know how it's going to take place or where, but I was really drawn to follow the rose line when I was there. And one of my shamans thinks both of us felt like we were somehow connected with Mary Magdalene and Jesus. So by blood and bone, I feel like one of my shamans, I feel like she was an offspring of Mary Magdalene. And she said, I feel that too. Like I was saying things to her, like, she's like, I've never shared that with anybody ever. And she's like, wow. It was so funny too. That's when she's kind of told me I had graduated, because she's like, that's really fucking good. Like, she's like, I never told anybody that. And she's like, I believe that you are finally, you're done. Like, you're cooked. You're ready to go out on your own. You don't need me anymore. But yeah, so I'm very interested. And the first time I started watching Outlander, I was really like, oh yeah, I got to get there. I have some deep connections there. So, wait, what did you guys say? You're welcome. We should all definitely meet up. Yes. Or at least do a face call. Yes. And then Anna, we did, that was great face to face. That'd be awesome. Visit UK, Lula. Love sent to all. I'm off to bed. Good night, Anna. We love you. Thanks, you guys. Oh yeah. Good night, everybody. Good night, Alana. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. And we'll work it out. My dream is that we'd all go to Glastonbury together, because I really want to go and I'm really drawn. So if it's meant to be, and whatever, like, we will. And, and it's one of those things, like, this is where I said to Spirit, I'm ready to be a millionaire, because I'm just the type of person, I've always been this way. I love you too. I love you all so much. I love you, Anna. I'm just the type of person that, like, if I had the money, I'm paying. There's just like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've always been that way. And I'm excited to be like that, where I'm like, hey, you guys all want to meet in Glastonbury? Who wants to go? And like set up like a thing, and, and like maybe do like a program, where it's like, maybe some type of, what do they call that when you get when you get gifted to go to school because you're so smart, or you're good at sports? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, where somebody pays your way, that kind of thing. So I look forward to that, where I have so much money that I don't even have to scholarship. Thank you, Spirit. Where I'm just like, who wants to join the scholarship program? You know what I mean? Who's going to Egypt with me this year? But also most of the time it would probably be because Spirit is like, yeah, like, that person needs to be there, or that person needs to be there. You guys need to have this experience together. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, Anna, if you and I end up traveling a lot together, because I kind of see you and I traveling. And Alder loves to travel, but he's never been outside of the United States except for to go down to Baja, Mexico for when he was working in LA. He and his buddies went over the border to go party. But and Canada, I think he went to Canada when he was a kid, before they had the borders, so secure and everything. So I'm very excited for that, for him, because it's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to experience it. And I tell people all the time, when I went to Europe changed my life. Being in these energies that are so old, and I'm like, no, man, like, I've been to Philly. I mean, Philadelphia is the founding fathers. Like, like, I've been to some of the oldest, if not the oldest towns in the US, but there's seriously nothing like going to, like, when I was in Mexico and I went into this church that was like from the 5th century, you know, and you're just like, holy shit, you know what I mean? It's like this stuff's been around forever. So anyway, all right, you guys. Well, we had a really good time today. Thank you everybody for being here. So as far as I know, we're going to keep doing it this way. So every Sunday at noon live Pacific Standard Time, you will find us here at the Magical Medium. And stay tuned. You're noticing, you will probably notice I'm making a lot of changes on my channels. We're going to keep posting. I am going to be amping up my posts too and my readings. So, you know, hit that subscribe button. You can go into your settings to get the bell so that you're notified when the new readings or the new episodes come up. I'll be doing more podcast profits, and yeah, that's it. And also because I've been working my ass off this summer, but I thought, man, I'm only going to be working even harder when the winter comes. And you know, we're supposed to get a really wet and cold, like not so nice where I live, which means that I'll be spending a lot of time indoors. And since I live in a tiny home, I'll probably be doing a lot of spirit work and fun stuff on Lulu's Labyrinth. And yeah, I found a whole new plethora of pictures of Baba and videos of me and Baba. So, you know, make sure to subscribe to Baba the Great, Lulu's Labyrinth, and the Magical Medium if you're so inclined. If not, we'll see you here next time. All right, take good care of yourselves and each other. I love you so much, and Spirit loves you too. We'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh.